Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 9. Oke anijtrshi, ichami no amakeotio. Akinaga, Tarashi, Haim no Mikoto was the great, grandchild of the Emperor Waka, Yamato, Nikko, Hiko Ohohihi, and the daughter of Prince Akinaga no Sukyun. Her mother name was Katsuraki no Taka, Nuka, Haim. She was made empress in the second year of the Emperor Naka, Su, Hiko. Whilst still young, she was intelligent and shrewd, and her countenance was of such blooming beauty that the prince her father wondered at it. In his 9th year, spring, the 2nd month, the Emperor Naka Tsu, Hiko died in the palace of Kashihi in Tsukashi. At this time, the empress was grieved that the emperor would not follow the divine instructions, and had consequently died a premature death. She thought she would find out what god had sent the curse, so that she might possess herself of the land of treasures. She therefore commanded her ministers and functionaries to purge offenses and to rectify transgressions, also to construct a palace of worship in the village of Wayamata. 3rd month, 1st day. The empress, having selected a lucky day, entered the palace of worship and discharged in person the office of priest. She commanded Takeshai no Sukyun to play on the lute, and the Nakatomi, Agatsu no Omi, was designated as Saniha. Then placing 1,000 pieces of cloth, high pieces of cloth, on the top and bottom of the lute, she prayed, saying, "Who is the god who on a former day instructed the emperor? I pray that I may know his name." After 7 days and 7 nights there came an answer, saying, "I am the deity who dwells in the shrine of Split, Bel Isuzu in the district of 100, transmit Watarahi in the province of Divine, Wind Ise, and my name is Tsuki, Sakaki Idzu no Mi Tama Ama, Zakaru Mukatsuheim no Makoto." There was an answer saying, "It is not known whether there are others or not." Hereupon the Saniha said, "There is no answer now, but they will speak again afterwards." So there was an answer, saying, "There are the gods who have settled to the bottom of the water of the little strait of Takebana in the land of Hyuga, and who are produced and dwell there like fresh water plants. Their names are Yuhatsutsu no Wo, Nakatsutsu no Wo, and Sokotsutsu no Wo." She inquired, "Are there others?" There was an answer, saying, "Whether there are or not is unknown," and nothing more was ever said as to the existence of other gods. Now that the divine words had been obtained, the gods were worshipped in accordance with their instructions. Thereafter, Kamo no Wake, the ancestor of the Kibai no Omi, was sent to attack the Kumaso. Before many days had elapsed, they freely submitted. Moreover, there was in the village of Nodorita a man named Hashiro Kuma, Washi. He was a fellow of powerful frame, and had wings on his body, so that he could fly, and with them soar aloft. Therefore, he would not obey the imperial commands, but habitually plundered the people. 17th day. The empress desired to attack Kuma, Washi. So from the palace of Kashihi, she returned to the palace of Matsunowo. At this time, a whirlwind suddenly arose, and her august hat was blown off by the wind. Therefore the men of the time called that place Mikasa. 20th day. She arrived at the moor of Sasoki, where she took up arms and smote Hashiro Kuma, Washi, and destroyed him. Then she addressed her courtiers, saying, "My mind is at peace now that we have taken Kuma Washi." Therefore the name of that place was called Yasu. 25th day. Going on from thence, she arrived at the district of Yamato, where she put to death at Tsuch, Gumo named Tabura Tsu, Haim. Now Tabura, Tsu, Haim elder brother Natsuha had raised an army and advanced against the empress, but on hearing that his younger sister had been already put to death, he took to flight. Summer, 4th month, 3rd day. Proceeding northwards, she arrived at the district of Matsura in the land of Hizen, and partook of food on the bank of the river Wagawa, in the village of Tamashima. Here the empress bent a needle, and made of it a hook. She took grains of rice, and used them as bait. Pulling out the threads of her garment, she made of them a line. Then mounting upon a stone in the middle of the river, and casting the hook, she prayed, saying, "We are proceeding westward, where we desire to gain possession of the land of treasure. If we are to succeed, let the fish of the river bite the hook." Accordingly, raising up her fishing rod, she caught a trout. Then the empress said, "It is a strange thing." Wherefore the men of the day called that place the land of Medzura. The present name, Matsura, is a corruption of this. For this reason, whenever the first decade of the 4th month comes round, the women of that land take hooks, which they cast into the river and catch trout, a custom which has not ceased unto this day. The men may angle for fish, but they cannot catch any. This having been done, the empress knew that there was virtue in the teaching of the gods, and she made sacrifice anew to the gods of heaven and earth. As it was her purpose in person to chastise the West, she set apart a sacred rice field and tilled it. Then, in order to divert water from the Naka, Gaha with which to irrigate it, she dug a channel as far as the hill of Todoroki. But a great rock stood in the way, and she was unable to pierce a channel through it. Then the empress sent for Takechai no Sukyun, and offering a sword and a mirror made him pray to the gods of heaven and earth, and asked them to allow the channel to be completed. Straightway there came thunder and lightning, and stamped that rock asunder, so that the water passed through. Therefore the men of the time called that channel the channel of Sakuta. The empress returned to the bay of Kashihi, and loosing her hair, looked over the sea, saying, "I, having received the instructions of the gods of heaven and earth, and trusting in the spirits of the imperial ancestors, floating across the deep blue sea, intend in person to chastise the West. Therefore do I now lave my head in the water of the sea. If I am to be successful, let my hair part spontaneously into two." Accordingly, she entered the sea and bathed, and her hair parted of its own accord. The empress bound it up parted into bunches. Then she addressed her ministers, saying, "To make war and move troops is a matter of the greatest concern to a country. Peace and danger, success and failure must depend on it. If I now entrusted to you, my ministers, the duties of the expedition we are about to undertake, the blame in case of ill success would rest with you. This would be very grievous to me. Therefore, although I am a woman, and a feeble woman too, I will for a while borrow the outward appearance of a man, and force myself to adopt manly counsels. Above, I shall receive support from the spirits of the gods of heaven and earth, while below I shall avail myself of the assistance of you, my ministers. Brandishing our weapons, we shall cross the towering billows. Preparing an array of ships, we shall take possession of the land of treasure. If the enterprise succeeds, all of you, my ministers, will have the credit, while if it is unsuccessful, I alone shall be to blame. Such have been my intentions. Do ye deliberate together regarding them?" The ministers all said, "The object of the measure which the empress has devised for the empire is to tranquilize the ancestral shrines and the gods of the earth and grain, and also to protect her servants from blame. With heads bowed to the ground we receive thy commands. Autumn, 9th month, 10th day." The various provinces were ordered to collect ships and to practice the use of weapons. But an army could not be assembled. The empress said, "This is surely the will of a god." So she erected the shrine of Oho Miwa and offered there a sword and a spear. Then the troops assembled freely. Hereupon a fisherman of Oth, by name Wimero, was sent out into the western sea to spy if there was any land there. He came back and said, "There is no land to be seen." Again a fisherman of Shika, named Nagusa, was sent to look. After several days he returned and said, "To the north, west, there is a mountain girt with clouds and extending crosswise. This is perhaps a country." Hereupon a lucky day was fixed upon by divination. There was yet an interval before they should set out. Then the empress in person, grasping her battle axe, commanded the 3 divisions of her army, saying, "If the drums are beaten out of time, and the signal, flags are waved confusedly. Order cannot be preserved among the troops. If greedy of wealth and eager for much, you cherish self and have regard for your own interests, you will surely be taken prisoners by the enemy. Despise not the enemy, though his numbers may be few. Shrink not from him, though his numbers may be many. Spare not the violent, slay not the submissive. So when she had received the divine instructions, she did worship, and for this purpose appointed Adarimi, Yasami no Ahiko, to be the director of the ceremonies in honor of the god. The time had now come for the empress delivery. So she took a stone which she inserted in her loins and prayed, saying, "Let my delivery be in this land on the day that I return after our enterprise is at an end." That stone is now on the road, side in the district of Ito. After this, the rough spirit was told to act as vanguard of the forces, and the gentle spirit requested to act as guardian of the royal vessel. Winter, 10th month, 3rd day. Sail was set from the harbor of Wani. Then the wind, God made a breeze to spring up, and the sea god uplifted the billows. The great fishes of the ocean, everyone, came to the surface and encompassed the ships. Presently a great wind blew from a favorable quarter on the ships under sail, and following the waves, without the labor of the oar or helm, they arrived at Silla. The tide, wave following the ships, reached far up into the interior of the country. Hereupon the king of Silla feared and trembled, and knew not what to do, so he assembled all his people and said to them, "Since the state of Silla was founded, it has never yet been heard that the water of the sea has encroached upon the land. Is it possible that the term of existence granted to it by heaven has expired, and that our country is to become a part of the ocean?" Scarce had he spoken, when a warlike fleet overspread the sea. Their banners were resplendent in the sunlight. The drums and fifes raised up their voices, and the mountains and rivers all thrilled to the sound. The king of Silla, beholding this from afar, felt that his country was about to be destroyed by this extraordinary force, and was terrified out of his senses. But presently coming to himself, he said, "I have heard that in the east there is a divine country named Nippon, and also that there is a wise sovereign called the Tenno. This divine force must belong to that country. How could we resist them by force of arms?" So he took a white flag, and of his own accord rendered submission, tying his hands behind his back with a white rope. He sealed up the maps and registers, and going down before the royal vessel bowed his head to the ground, and said, "Henceforward, as long as heaven and earth endure, we will obediently act as thy forage providers, not allowing the helms of our ships to become dry. Every spring and every autumn we will send tribute of horse, combs, and whips." Then someone said, "Let us put to death the king of Silla." Hereupon the empress said, "When I first received the divine instructions, promising to bestow on me the land of gold and silver, I gave orders to the 3 divisions of the army, saying, 'Slay not the submissive.' Now that we have taken the land of treasure, and its people have freely offered submission, it would be unlucky to slay them." So she loosed the cords with which he was bound, and made him her forage provider. Ultimately, she proceeded to the interior of that country, placed seals on the magazines of precious treasure, and took possession of the books of maps and registers. The spear on which the empress leant was planted at the gate of the king of Silla, as a memorial to after ages. Therefore that spear even now remains planted at the king of Silla gate. Now Fasa Maikun, king of Silla, gave as a hostage me, Chul, Kwai Kai Fa Chin Kan Kai, and with gold and silver, bright colors, figured gauzes and silks, he loaded 80 vessels, which he made to follow after the imperial forces. This was the origin of the king of Silla, always sending 80 ships of tribute. Hereupon the kings of the 2 countries of Koryor and Pekshe, hearing that Silla had rendered up its maps and registers, and made submission, secretly caused the warlike power to be spied out. Finding then that they could not be victorious, they came of themselves without the camp, and bowing their heads to the ground, and sighing said, Henceforth forever, these lands shall be styled thy western frontier provinces, and will not cease to offer tribute. Accordingly, interior governments were instituted. This is what is termed the three-han. The Empress returned from Silla. 12th month, 14th day. She gave birth to the Emperor Hamuda in Tsukashi. Therefore the men of that time called the place where he was born Yumi. One version says, when the Emperor Terashi Nekatsu, Hiko, dwelt in the palace of Kashihi in Tsukashi, there were deities who spake by the mouth of Uche, Sarutaka, Kuni, Sarutaka, and Matsu, Yatain, ancestors of the Agata Nushi of Saha, and admonished the emperor, saying, if the august descendant wishes to gain the land of treasure, we will presently bestow it on him. So on a later day, a lute was brought and given to the empress. And the empress played upon the lute, in accordance with the word of the gods. Hereupon the gods spake by the mouth of the empress, and admonished the emperor, saying, the land which the august descendant wishes for is, as it were, a stag horn, and not a real country. But if the august descendant now makes due offering to us of the ship in which he sails, and of the water, field called Ohoda given him as tribute by Hamutate, the Atahavanado, we will bestow on the august descendant a dazzling land, a land of plenteous treasures, fair to look upon as a beautiful woman. Then the emperor answered the gods, saying, gods though ye may be, why these deceiving words? Where is there any country? Moreover, when the ship in which we sail has been offered to you deities, in what ship shall we sail? Nor do I know what gods ye are. I pray you, let me know your names. Then the gods gave their names, saying, Yuha Tsutsu no wo, Nakatsutsu no wo, Soko Tsutsu no wo. Such were the names of the three gods given by them. And again one said, I am Mukahitsu no wo Kikiso, Afu Itsuno Matama Hayasa Nabori no Makoto. Then the emperor spake to the empress and said, what ill-sounding things they say. Is it a woman? What is meant by Hayasa Nabori? Then the gods addressed the emperor, saying, O king, since thou art thus unbelieving, thou shalt not possess that country. But the child which is now in the empress' womb, he will doubtless take possession of it. On that night the emperor took suddenly ill and died. Afterwards the empress performed worship in accordance with the directions of the gods. Then the empress, clad in male attire, went on the expedition against Silla, and the gods guided her. Accordingly, the wave which followed the ship reached far into the interior of the land of Silla. Hereupon the Silla prince Richū came to meet the empress, and kneeling down, took hold of the royal vessel. Bowing his head to the ground, he said, Henceforward thy servant will act as an interior government for the child of the gods who dwells in Japan, and will not cease to furnish tribute. One version says, she took prisoner the prince of Silla, and going to the sea's side, plucked out his knee caps, and causing him to crawl on the rocks, suddenly slew him and buried him in the sand. Accordingly, she stationed there one man as governor of Silla, and departed. Afterwards, the wife of the prince of Silla, not knowing where the body of her husband was buried, all by herself conceived the thought of deluding the governor. So, enticing him, she said, If thou wilt let me know the place where the prince's body is buried, I will surely reward thee liberally, and will become thy wife. Hereupon the governor believed these deluding words, and secretly made known to her the place where the body was buried. Then the prince's wife and the people of the country, having consulted together, slew the governor, and having disinterred the prince's body, buried it in another place. Then they took the governor body, and buried it in the earth under the prince's tomb, and taking up the coffin, deposited it on the top of the governor body, saying, This is as it ought necessarily to be, according to the order of things exalted and things base. Hereupon the empress, when she heard of this, was mightily incensed, and raised a large army, with which it was her intent utterly to destroy Silla. So with war ships filling the sea, she proceeded thither. At this time, the people of Silla were all afraid, and knew not what to do. Having assembled, they consulted together, and slew the prince's wife by way of apology for their crime. Hereupon the three gods who accompanied the expedition, viz. So Hamutate was appointed master of the worship of the rough spirits, and a shrine was erected in the village of Yamata in Anato. Now in spring, the second month of the year following the expedition against Silla, the empress removed with her ministers and functionaries to the palace of Toyora in Anato, where she took up the emperor remains and proceeded towards the capital by the sea route. Now Prince Kakasaka and Prince Ashikuma, hearing of the emperor decease, as well as of the empress expedition to the west, and of the recent birth of an imperial prince, plotted secretly, saying, "The empress has now a child, and all the ministers obey her. They will certainly consult together and establish an infant sovereign. But shall we, the elders, obey our younger brother?" So, pretending that it was in order to build a misasagi for the emperor, they went to Harima and raised a misasagi at Akashi. Accordingly, they joined boats together in a string across to the island of Ahaji, and so transported the stones of that island to build it. Now they made every man take a weapon, and so they awaited the empress. Hereupon Kurami, Wake, the ancestor of the Kimi of Inugami, and Asachi no Tsukyun, ancestor of the Kishi, together joined themselves unto Prince Kakasaka, who made them his generals, and directed them to raise troops from the eastern land. Then Prince Kakasaka and Prince Ashikuma went forth together to the moor of Toga, and made a hunt prayer, saying, "If our project is to be successful, then surely let us take some good game." The two princes sat each in his shelter, when a wild boar sprang out suddenly, and climbing onto the shelter, bit Prince Kakasaka and killed him. The soldiers, everyone shuddered with fear. Then Prince Ashikuma addressed Kurami, Wake, saying, "This is a very ominous thing. We ought not to await the enemy here." So he withdrew his troops, and retreating again, encamped at Sumiyoshi. At this time, the empress heard that Prince Ashikuma had raised an army, and was awaiting her. She commanded Takechai no Tsukyun to take in his bosom the imperial prince, and going out across by way of the South Sea provinces, to anchor in the harbor of Ki, while the empress ship made straight for Naniha. At this time, the empress ship swerved towards the midst of the sea, and was unable to proceed. She returned again to the harbor of Muko, where she made divination as to this. Hereupon Amaterasu no Oho, Kami admonished her, saying, "My rough spirit may not approach the imperial residence. Let him dwell in the land of Hirota in Mikakoro." Soha, Yama, Haim, daughter of Yamashiro Nikko, was appointed to worship him. Moreover, Waka, Huru, Mino Mikoto admonished the empress, saying, "I wish to dwell in the land of Nagawa in Ikuta." So Yuna, Gami no Asachi, was appointed to worship her. Again, Koto Shiro Nushi no Mikoto admonished her, saying, "Worship me in the land of Nakata in Mi Kokoro." So Naga, Haim, younger sister of Ha-Yama, Haim was appointed to worship him. Again the three gods, Yuhatsutsu no Wo, Nakatsutsu no Wo, and Sokotsutsu no Wo, admonished her, saying, "Let our gentle spirits dwell at Nagawa in Nuna, Kura in Ohatsu, so that they may look upon the ships passing back and forward." Hereupon these gods were enshrined in accordance with their instructions, and the empress was enabled to cross the sea in peace. Prince Ashikuma, again withdrawing his troops, retreated as far as Uji, where he encamped. The empress proceeded southwards to the land of Ki, and met the Prince Imperial at Hitaka. Having consulted with her ministers, she at length desired to attack Prince Ashikuma, and removed to the palace of Shinu. It so happened that at this time the day was dark like night. Many days passed in this manner, and the men of that time said, "This is the eternal night." The empress inquired of Toyomimi, the ancestor of the Atah of Kai, saying, "Wherefore is this omen?" Then there was an old man who said, "I have heard by tradition that this kind of omen is called Atsunahi no Tsumi." She inquired, "What does it mean?" He answered and said, "The priests of the two shrines have been buried together." Therefore she made strict investigation in the village. There was a man who said, "The priest of Shinu and the priest of Amano were good friends." The priest of Shinu fell ill and died. the priest of Amano wept and wailed, saying, "We have been friends together since our birth. Why in our death should there not be the same grave for both?" So he lay down beside the corpse and died of himself, so that they were buried together. This is perhaps the reason. So they opened the tomb, and on examination found that it was true. Therefore they again changed their coffins and interred them separately, upon which the sunlight shone forth, and there was a difference between day and night. 3rd month, 5th day. The empress commanded Takeshai no Sukyun and Take, Furu, Kuma, ancestor of the Omi of Wani, to lead an army of several tens of thousands of men to attack Prince Ashikuma. Hereupon, Takeshai no Sukyun and his colleague, having taken picked men, went out by way of Yamashiro as far as Uji, where they encamped north of the river. Prince Ashikuma came out from his camp and offered battle. Now there was a man called Kuma no Kori, who formed the vanguard of Prince Ashikuma army. One version says, ancestor of the Abido of Katsurano no Kai. Another says, the remote ancestor of the Kishi of Tako. Accordingly, in order to encourage his men, he sang with a loud voice, saying, "Beyond the river is the rough pine-clad plain, to that pine-clad plain let us cross over, with bows of tsuki and store of sounding arrows." My dear fellow, my dear fellows, my cousin too, my cousins, come, let us join battle with Uchi no Iso. Come, let us join battle. Then Takeshai no Sukyun, giving command to the 3 divisions of the army, made them all bind up their hair mallet-wise. Accordingly, he made an order, saying, "Let every one of you have spare bow, strings concealed in your top knots, and gird on wooden swords." Having done so, in accordance with the commands of the empress, he deluded Prince Ashikuma, saying, "I am not greedy to possess the empire. Only, while cherishing the infant prince, we will obey my lord the prince. Why should I contend with thee in battle? I pray thee, let us both cut our bows, strings, fling away our weapons, and be in harmony together. Then mayest thou, my lord the prince, mount to the heavenly office and sit at peace, making high thy pillow and wielding at thy will the 10,000 appliances." So he openly gave orders to his army that they should all cut their bow strings and, ungirding their swords, fling them into the river, water. Prince Ashikuma believed these deluding words and ordered all his troops to ungird their weapons and fling them into the water of the river, and also to cut their bow strings. Upon this, Takeshai no Sukyun commanded the 3 divisions of his army to produce their spare bow strings and to string their bows again, and, girt with their real swords, to advance across the river. Prince Ashikuma, seeing that he had been deceived, spake to Kurami, Wake and Asachi no Sukyun, saying, "We have been deceived and have now no spare weapons. How shall we be able to fight?" So he withdrew his forces and gradually retreated. Then Takeshai no Sukyun sent forth his choice troops and pursued him, and having come up to him just at a Fusaka, put him to the rout. Therefore that place was called a Fusaka. The army took to flight and ran as far as Kirusu in Sasanami. Many were slain. Hereupon, the blood overflowed into Kirusu. Therefore, in horror of this, until this day, the fruit of Kirusu is not offered to the imperial palace. Prince Ashikuma, not knowing whither to betake himself in his flight, called to him Isachi no Sukyun and made a song, saying, "Come, my child Isachi Sukyun. Rather than receive a severe wound from the mallet of Uchi no Iso, like unto the grebe let us make a plunge." So they sank together in the crossing, place of Sita, and died. Then Takeshai no Sukyun made a song, saying, "The birds that dived at the ferry of Sita by the sea of Afumi. Since with my eyes I cannot see them, can they be still alive?" Hereupon they searched for their dead bodies and were unable to find them. But several days after, they came out on the river, bank at Uji. Then Takeshai no Sukyun again made a song, saying, "In the sea of Afumi at the ferry of Sita, the birds that dived, passing Tanakami, have been caught at Uji." Winter, 10th month, 3rd day. The ministers honored the Empress with the title of Grand Empress. This year was the year Mizunoto, Eye of the Cycle. It was reckoned the first year of her administration of the government. AD 202. Second year, winter, 11th month, 8th day. The emperor was buried in the Misasagi of Nagano, in the province of Kahachi. AD 203. Third year, spring, 1st month, 3rd day. The imperial Prince Hamuda, Wake, was appointed Prince Imperial. Accordingly, the capital was made at Aiher. It was called the Palace of Wakazakura. AD 205. Fifth year, spring, 3rd month, 7th day. The king of Silla sent Ye Sa Pearl Mo Ma Rai Chul Kai and Pu Ra Mo Kai with tribute. It was their desire to get back me, Chul Her Kai Pearl, Han, who had formerly come as a hostage. With this object they tampered with her, Kai Pearl, Han, and caused him to use deceit, telling him to make petition and say, the envoys Ye Sa Pearl Mo Ma Rai Chul Kai and the other have informed me that my king, on account of my long failure to return, has wholly confiscated my wife and family and made them slaves. I pray thee, let me return for a while to my own country and learn whether this be true or false. The emperor forthwith gave him leave to go, and accordingly sent him away, accompanied by Katsuraki no Satsuhiko. They reached Tsushima together, and stayed for the night at the harbor of Sabai no Yumi. Then the Silla envoys Mo, Ma, Rai Chul, Kai and the others secretly provided a separate ship and sailors, on board of which they put me, Chulhan, Kai, and made him escape to Silla. They also made a straw figure which they put in me, Chulher, Kai birth, and making it appear like a sick man, they informed Satsuhiko, saying, my Chulher, Kai has taken suddenly ill and is on the point of death. Satsuhiko sent men to nurse him, and so discovered the deception. Having seized the 3 Silla envoys, he placed them in a cage which he burnt with fire, and so killed them. Then he proceeded to Silla, where he touched at the harbor of Taitara. He took the castle of Chhora and returned. The captives taken on this occasion were the first ancestors of the Han people of the 4 villages of Kuwabara, Sabai, Takamiya, and Ashinomi. AD 213. 13th year, spring, 2nd month, 8th day. Takeshai no Sukyun was commanded to go with the Prince Imperial and worship the great god of Kebai in Sunoga. 17th day. The Prince Imperial returned from Sunoga. On this day, the Grand Empress gave a banquet to the Prince Imperial in the Great Hall. The Grand Empress, raising her cup, wished long life to the Prince Imperial. Accordingly, she made a song, saying, this august liquor is not my august liquor. This prince of liquors, he that dwells in the eternal land firm as a rock, the august god Sukuna, with words of plenteous blessing, blessing all around, with words of divine blessing, blessing again and again, hath sent as an offering to thee. Drink of it deeply. Sa. Takeshai no Sukyun, on behalf of the Prince Imperial, made an answering song, saying, the man who brewed this august liquor, setting up on the mortar his drum, singing all the while, he must have brewed it. This august liquor is exquisitely more and more delightful. Sa. AD 239. 39th year. This year was the year Tsuchinoto Hitsuji of the cycle. The history of Wei says, in the reign of the Emperor Ming Ti, in the 3rd year of the period King, Chu, the Queen of Wa, sent the high officer Nan Tu, me and others to the province, where they begged permission to proceed to the emperor and offer tribute. The Ti Shu Tanghia sent an officer to escort them to the capital, AD 240. 40th year. The history of Wei says, In the first year of Chang Shi, Qin Chung, Kaio, Wei Ti, Hai, and others proceeded to the Wa country charged with an imperial rescript and a seal and ribbon. AD 243. 43rd year. The ruler of Wa again sent high officers as envoys with tribute, named I Xing She, Yi Yi Yo, and others, 8 persons in all. AD 246. 46th year, spring, 3rd month, 1st day. Shima no Sukyun was sent to the land of Thak, Sion. Hereupon Malkiam Kanki, king of Thak, Sion, informed Shima no Sukyun, saying, "In the course of the year Kanoini, 3 men of Pekshe named Kutier, Mi Chayu, Nayu, and Moko came to my country and said, 'The king of Pekshe, hearing that in the eastern quarter there is an honorable country, has sent thy servants to this honorable country court. Therefore, we beg of thee a passage, so that we may go to that land. If thou wilt be good enough to instruct thy servants and cause us to pass along the roads, our king will certainly show profound kindness to my lord the king.' I then said to Kutier and his fellows, 'I have always heard that there is an honorable country in the east, but I have had no communication with it, and do not know the way. There is nothing but far seas and towering billows, so that in a large ship one can hardly communicate. Even if there were a regular crossing place, how could you arrive there?' Hereupon Kutier and the others said, 'Well then, for the present we cannot communicate. Our best plan will be to go back again and prepare a ship with which to communicate later.' They also said, 'If envoys should come from the honorable country, thou oughtest surely to inform our country.' Thus they went back. Hereupon Shima no Sukyun sent one of his followers named Nihia, and a Thak, Sion man named Kwa, Ko to the land of Pekshe to make friendly inquiries of the king health. King Seo, Ko of Pekshe, was profoundly pleased and received them cordially. He presented to Nihia a roll each of 5 kinds of dyed silk, a horn bow and arrows, together with 40 bars of iron. Thereafter he opened his treasure, house, and pointing to his various rare objects, said, 'In my country there is great store of these rare treasures. I have wished to pay tribute of them to the honorable country, but not knowing the way I was unable to carry out my intention. I shall now entrust them to envoys, who will visit your country in order to offer them.' Nihia took charge of this message, and on his return informed Shima no Sukyun, who thereupon came back from Thak, Sion. AD 247. 47th year, summer, 4th month. The king of Pekshe sent Kutier, Mi, Chu, Nayu, and Ma, Ko with tribute. Now a tribute envoy from Silla came along with Kutier. Hereupon the Grand Empress and the Prince Imperial Hamuda Wake no Mikoto were greatly delighted and said, 'People from the countries wished for by our late sovereign have now come to court. Alas, that they cannot meet the emperor. There was not one of all the ministers who did not shed tears.' But when the articles of tribute of the 2 countries were examined, the Silla tribute was of rare objects in very great number, while the Pekshe tribute articles were few and mean, and of no value. So inquiry was made of Kutier and the others, saying, 'How is it that the Pekshe tribute is inferior to that of Silla?' They answered and said, 'We lost our way and arrived at Sabai. Here thy servants were captured by men of Silla and confined in a jail. After 3 months had passed, they wished to kill us. Then Kutier and the rest looked up towards heaven and pronounced a curse. The men of Silla, fearing this curse, refrained from killing us, but robbed us of our tribute. Then they gave us the tribute of Silla in exchange for our tribute, and made it the tribute of thy servants' country, and they spake to thy servants, saying, 'Be careful what ye say, or else, as soon as we return, we will kill you.' Therefore we, Kutier and the rest, were afraid, and made no objection. For this reason we have hardly been able to reach the heavenly court. Then the Grand Empress and Hamuda Wake no Mikoto charged the Silla envoys with this deed, and accordingly prayed to the gods of heaven, saying, Whom is it meet that we send to Pekshe to examine this matter, whether it be true or false? Whom is it meet that we send to Silla to investigate this charge? Therewith the gods of heaven admonished them, saying, Let Takeshai no Sukyun prepare a plan, and let Chikuma Nagahiko be the envoy. Then it will be as you desire. Chikuma Nagahiko title is unknown. One account says, Chikuma Nagahiko was a man of the province of Musashi, the first ancestor of the present Abido of Tsukumoto of the Nukata B. The Pekshe record says, Shimananaga Hiko was perhaps this man. Hereupon Chikuma Nagahiko was sent to Silla to call that country to an account for meddling with the Pekshe tribute. AD 249. 49th year, spring, 3rd month. Arata Wake and Kaga Wake were made generals. Along with Cutier and the others, they prepared a force with which they crossed over and came to Thak, Sion. They were accordingly about to invade Silla when someone said, Your troops are too few. You cannot defeat Silla. They respectfully sent back again Sia, Pek Ki, Ro to ask for reinforcements. Mong, Nakyun, Cha and Sia. Sia Nakwe, these two men's surname is unknown. But Mong Nakyuncha was a Pekshe general, were forthwith ordered to take command of choice troops, which were sent along with Sia, Pek Ki, Ro. They all assembled at Thak, Sion, invaded Silla and conquered it. 7 provinces were accordingly subdued, viz. Paicha, Pun, South Kura, Takkuk, Ara, Terra, Thak, Sion, and Kura. Then they moved their forces, and turning westward, arrived at Ko Hae Chin, where they slaughtered the southern savages of Chim, Mi, Ta, Naye, and granted their country to Pekshe. Hereupon their king, Sioko, together with Prince Kusiu, came to meet them with more troops. Then 4 villages, viz. Pai Rai, Phai Chung, Pha Mi Kai, and Pan Ko, spontaneously surrendered. Thereupon the kings of Pekshe, father and son, met Arata Wake, Mong, Nakyuncha, and the rest at the village of Wai, Niu, and at an interview offered their congratulations and dismissed them with cordial courtesy. But Chikuma Nagahiko remained in the land of Pekshe with the king of Pekshe, where they ascended Mount Phai, Kai, and made a solemn declaration. Afterwards they ascended Mount Ko, Sia, where they sat together upon a rock, and the king of Pekshe made a solemn declaration, saying, If I spread grass for us to sit upon, it might be burnt with fire, and if I took wood for a seat, it might be washed away by water. Therefore, sitting on a rock, I make this solemn declaration of alliance to show that it will remain undecayed to distant ages. From this time forward, therefore, for 1,000 autumns and for 10,000 years, without pause and without limit, we shall bear the regular title of the Western Frontier Province, and every spring and every autumn will attend your court with tribute. So he took with him Chikuma Nagahiko to his capital, where he treated him with the most cordial courtesy. He also made Cutier, and the others escort him home. AD 250. 50th year, spring, 2nd month. Arata Wake and his companions returned. Summer, 5th month. Chikuma Nagahiko, Cutier, and the rest arrived from Pekshe. Thereupon the Grand Empress was delighted, and inquired of Cutier, saying, The various Han countries west of the sea have been already granted to thy country. Wherefore dost thou come again repeatedly? Cutier and the others said to the Empress, The vast blessings of the celestial court reached afar to our mean village, and our king capered with delight. Out of the fullness of his heart, he has sent a return mission in token of his great sincerity. Though it come to the 10,000th year, in what year shall we fail to attend thy court? The Grand Empress gave command, saying, Good are thy words. These are our intentions. We grant, in addition, the castle of Tassia to serve as a station in going and returning. AD 251. 51st year, spring, 3rd month. The king of Pekshe again sent Cutier to the court with tribute. Hereupon the Grand Empress addressed the Prince Imperial and Takeshai no Sukyun, saying, We owe it to heaven and not to man that we have a friendly country like Korea. Therefore it brings constantly, without missing a year, tribute of trinkets and rarities such as there have never been before. We, seeing this true affection, are always rejoiced at it, and so long as we live will heartily bestow on it our favor. That same year, she dispatched Chikuma Nagahiko to the land of Pekshe in company with Cutier and the others. Accordingly, in the most gracious manner, she said, "We, in accordance with the divine testimony, having for the first time laid open a road, subdued the lands west of the sea and granted them to Pekshe, would now again draw closer the bonds of friendship and make lasting our loving bounty." At this time the kings of Pekshe, father and son, both together knocked their foreheads on the ground and made representation, saying, "The immense bounty of the honorable country is more weighty than heaven and earth. What day, what hour shall we presume to forget it? The sage sovereign dwells above, illustrious as the sun and moon. Thy servants now dwell below, solid as a mountain or hill, and will always be thy western frontier land, never to the last showing double hearts." AD 252. 52nd year, autumn 9th month 10th day. Cutier and the others came along with Chikuma Nagahiko and presented a 7-branched sword and a 7-little, 1 mirror, with various other objects of great value. They addressed the Empress, saying, "West of thy servant's country there is a river, source which issues from Mount Churlson in Kong Na. It is distant 7 days' journey. It need not be approached, but one should drink of this water, and so having gotten the iron of this mountain, wait upon the sage court for all ages." Moreover, he addressed his grandson, Prince Chim Nayu, saying, "The honorable country east of the sea with which we are now in communication has been opened to us by heaven. Therefore does it bestow on us celestial bounty, and dividing off the land west of the sea, has granted it to us. Consequently, the foundation of our land is confirmed forever. Thou shouldst cultivate well its friendship, and having collected our national products, wait on it with tribute without ceasing. Henceforth, grudging not even our lives, let us continue to send yearly tribute." AD 255. 55th year. Sioko, king of Pekshe, died. AD 256. 56th year. Kusiu, son of the king of Pekshe, was set up as king. AD 202. 62nd year. Silla did not attend the court. The same year, Satsuhiko was sent to chastise Silla. The Pekshe record says, the year Mizunoi Muma. Silla did not wait upon the honorable country. The honorable country sent Sachihiko to attack it. The men of Silla dressed up 2 beautiful women whom they sent to meet Sachihiko at the port and inveigle him. Sachihiko accepted them and, turning aside, attacked the land of Kara. Kwaipon Kenki, king of Kara, and his sons, Pek Kukai A Siukai, Ixiarai I Rama Chayu, and I Mun Kai, fled to Pekshe, taking with them their subjects. Pekshe received them cordially, and Kwai Churn Kai, younger sister of the king of Kara, went a great wa and addressed the empress, saying, "Your Majesty sent Sachihiko to attack Silla. But he has accepted beautiful women of Silla and abandoned the invasion. On the contrary, he has destroyed our country. My brothers and our people have all been driven into exile. Unable to bear my grief, I have come hither to make this representation." The empress was greatly enraged, and forthwith sent Mongna Kyuncha in command of an army to bring them together in Kara and to restore the temples of the earth and of grain. One account says, Sachihiko, when he learnt that the empress was wroth with him, did not dare to return openly, but hid himself. He had a younger sister, who was in the service of the imperial palace. Hiko secretly sent a messenger to inquire of her whether or no the empress' wrath had abated. She, pretending a dream, said to the empress, "Tonight in a dream I saw Sachihiko." The empress was greatly enraged and said, How should Hiko dare to come? The empress' words were reported to Sachihiko, who, seeing that he would not be pardoned, went into a cave of a rock and died. AD 264. 64th year. Kusio, king of Pekshe, died, and his son Chim, Nayu was set up as king. AD 265. 65th year. King Chim, Nayu of Pekshe, died. His son Awa was a child, and his father younger brother Sinsa, by usurpation, was set up and made king. AD 266. 66th year. This year was the second year of the period Ti Shi, of the Emperor Wu Ti of the Tsin dynasty. Kei Ku Chu of Tsin says, in the 10th month of the second year of the period Ti Shi of Wu Ti, the Queen of Wa sent interpreters with tribute. AD 269. 69th year, summer, 4th month, 17th day. The Grand Empress died in the palace of Waka, Sakura, at the age of 100. Winter, 10th month, 17th day. She was buried in the Misasagi of Tatanami, in Saki. On this day, by way of posthumous honor to the Grand Empress, she was called Akinaga Tarashi, Haim no Mikoto. This year was the year Tsuchinoto Ushi of the cycle. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 10. The Emperor Hōjin. The Emperor Hamuda was the fourth child of the Emperor Tarashi Nakatsu, Hiko. His mother name was Akinaga Tarashi, Haim no Mikoto. The emperor was born at Kata in Tsukushi in the 12th month, winter, of the year Kanoi Tatsu, being the year in which the empress smote Silla. From a child he was intelligent, penetrating, and far-sighted. In his bearing and conduct, there were amazing indications of sageness. In the 3rd year of the Grand Empress administration of the government, he was raised to the rank of Prince Imperial. Before this time, when the emperor was in the womb, the gods of heaven and earth granted to him the 3-hand. When he was born, there was flesh growing on his arm in shape like an elbow, pad. As to this resemblance, the empress judged that it was the elbow, pad worn as a manly accoutrement. Therefore he was styled by this name, and called the Emperor Hamuda. In the earliest antiquity, the Tomo was commonly called Hamuda. One account says, in the beginning, when the emperor was made heir to the throne, he went to the land of Koshi and did worship to the great god of Tsu, Suhai, and Tsunoga. At this time, the great god and the heir to the throne exchanged names. Accordingly, the great god was called the god Isasa, Wake, and the heir to the throne Hamuda Wake no Mikoto. In the 69th year of her administration of the government, summer, the 4th month, the Grand Empress died. AD 270. 1st year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. The Prince Imperial assumed the dignity. This year was the year Kanoi Tora of the cycle. AD 271. 2nd year, spring, 3rd month, 3rd day. Nakatsuhime was appointed empress. She gave birth to the imperial princess Arata, to the emperor Oho, Sasaki, and to the imperial prince Natori. Before this, the emperor had taken to him as concubine the empress' younger sister, Takaki Irabaim, who bore to him the imperial prince Nukata no Oho, Naka, Hiko, the imperial prince Oho, Yama Mori, the imperial prince Iza no Mawaka, the imperial princess Oho Hara, and the imperial princess Kamada. Another concubine, a younger sister of the empress, named Otoheim, bore to him the imperial princess Oth, the imperial princess Ahaji no Mahara, and the imperial princess Kai no Uno. The next concubine, daughter of Hifyur no Omi, the ancestor of the Wani no Omi, by name Miya Nushi Yaka Haim, bore the imperial prince Uji no Waka Iritsuko, the imperial princess Yada, and the imperial princess Midori. The next concubine, named Oname, Haim, the younger sister of Yaka, Baim, bore the imperial prince Uji no Waka Iratsumi. The next concubine, named Odo, Haim, daughter of Kaha Mata Nakatsuhiko, bore the imperial prince Wakanoke Fuda, Mata. The next concubine, named Meigo, Haim, younger sister of Asabi, Muraji of the Sakurawi, Debi, bore the imperial prince Hayabusa Wake. The next concubine, named Naga, Haim of Idzumi and Hyuga, bore the imperial princes Oho, Hei and Wo Hei. In all, the sons and daughters of this emperor were together 20 princes and princesses. The imperial prince Nettori was the first ancestor of the Kimi of Ohoda. The imperial prince Oho, Yama, Mori was the first ancestor of the two families of the Kimi of Hiji, Kata, and the Kimi of Heibara. The imperial prince Iza, no Mawaka, was the first ancestor of the wake of Fukagaha. AD 272. Third year, 10th month, 3rd day. The eastern Yamishi all attended the court with tribute. They were employed to make the Muma, Zaka Road. 11th month. The fishermen of several places clamored noisily and would not obey the imperial command. So Oho, Hama no Sukyun, ancestor of the Muraji of Idzumi, was sent to subdue this clamor. He was accordingly made controller of the fishermen. This was the origin of the proverbial saying of the people of that time, viz. Sawa Ama, or clamorous fishermen. This year, King Sinsa of Pekshe was disrespectful to the celestial court. Therefore, Kai no Tsuno no Sukyun, Hada no Yashiro no Sukyun, Ishikaha no Sukyun, and Suku no Sukyun were sent to call him to an account for his rudeness. Hereupon, the people of Pekshe slew Sinsa by way of apology. Kai no Tsuno no Sukyun and the others accordingly established Awa as king and returned. AD 274. 5th year, autumn, 8th month, 13th day. The various provinces were directed to establish B of fishermen and B of mountain wardens. Winter, 10th month. The province of Idzu was charged with the duty of constructing a ship 10 rods in length. As soon as it was completed, it was launched on the sea for a trial. It floated lightly and was as swift as a racer. Therefore that ship was called Karano, AD 275. 6th year, spring, 2nd month. The emperor made a progress to the province of Afumi. When he arrived near the Moor of Uji, he made a song, saying, "When I look upon the Moor of Kadzu in Chiba, both the 100,000-fold abundant house, places are visible, and the land Acme is visible." AD 276. 7th year, autumn, 9th month. Men of Koryur, men of Pekshe, men of Imna, and men of Silla all together attended the court. Orders were then given to Takeshai no Sukyun to take these various men of Han and make them dig a pond. Therefore the pond was given a name and was called the Pond of the Men of Han. AD 277. 8th year, spring, 3rd month. Men of Pekshe attended court. The Pekshe record says, King Awa came to the throne and was disrespectful to the honorable country. Therefore we were despoiled of him, me, Ta Ryer, Higher Nam, Kai, him, Kong Na, and Eastern Han. Herewith Prince Chick, Kai was sent to the celestial court in order to restore the friendship of former kings. AD 278. 9th year, summer, 4th month. Takeshai no Sukyun was sent to Tsukashi to inspect the people. Now Yumashi no Sukyun, Takeshai no Sukyun younger brother, setting aside his elder brother, slandered him to the emperor. Takeshai no Sukyun had always designs upon the empire. "I now hear," said he, "that while he is in Tsukashi, he is secretly plotting to that end, saying, Alone I will cut off Tsukashi, and will invite the three-hand to come and do homage to me, so that finally I may possess the empire." Hereupon, the emperor straightway sent messengers to slay Takeshai no Sukyun. Now Takeshai no Sukyun cried out, saying, "I have not two hearts, but serve my prince with loyalty. What a calamity is this that I should die without a crime?" Now there was a man named Maniko, ancestor of the Ata of Ikki, who in appearance strongly resembled Takeshai no Sukyun. All by himself, he grudged that Takeshai no Sukyun's innocent life should be vainly thrown away. So he spoke to Takeshai no Sukyun and said, "Now the great minister serves his prince with loyalty and has not had a black heart. All the empire knows this. I pray thee leave this place secretly, and, proceeding to the court, personally unfold thine innocence. After this, it will not be too late to die. Moreover, the people of this time are always saying that thy slave resembles the great minister in appearance. Therefore I will now die in the place of the great minister, and so make clear the great minister redness of heart." So he threw himself on his sword and slew himself. Then Takeshai no Sukyun, alone, grieving greatly for him, secretly left Tsukashi, and embarking on the sea, went round by way of the southern ocean. Anchoring in the harbor of Kai, he hardly succeeded in making his way to the court, where he explained his innocence. The emperor forthwith questioned Takeshai no Sukyun along with Yumashi no Sukyun, upon which these two men were each obstinate, and wrangled with one another, so that it was impossible to ascertain the right and the wrong. The emperor then gave orders to ask of the gods of heaven and earth the ordeal by boiling water. Hereupon Takeshai no Sukyun and Yumashi no Sukyun went out together to the bank of the Shiki River, and underwent the ordeal of boiling water. Takeshai no Sukyun was victorious. Taking his cross sword, he threw down Yumashi no Sukyun, and was at length about to slay him, when the emperor ordered him to let him go. So he gave him to the ancestor of the Ata of Ki. AD 280. 11th year, winter, 10th month. The Tsurugi, Kakaki, and Mumia, Zakapons were made. This year there was a man who made representation to the emperor, saying, "There is in the land of Hyuga a maiden whose name is Kami, Naga, Haim. She is the daughter of Ushi, Morowi, the Kimi of Muragata. She is distinguished for beauty over all the land. The emperor was pleased and wished in his heart to obtain her." AD 282. 13th year, spring, 3rd month. The emperor sent a special messenger to summon Kami, Naga, Haim. Autumn, 9th month. Kami, Naga, Haim arrived from Hyuga and was straightway settled at the village of Kyuhadzu. Now the imperial prince, Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, when he saw Kami, Naga, Haim was struck with the beauty of her form and had a constant love for her. Hereupon the emperor became aware of Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto's passion for Kami, Naga, Haim, and wished to unite her to him. Therewith the emperor, on the day that he gave a banquet in the Hinder Palace, sent for Kami, Naga, Haim for the first time, and so gave her the upper seat in the banqueting room. Then he brought in Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, and pointing to Kami, Naga, Haim made a song saying, "Come, my son. On the moor, garlic to gather on the way as I went, pleasing of perfume was the orange in flower. Its branches beneath men had all plundered, its branches above birds perching had withered. Midmost, its branches held in their hiding a blushing maiden. Come, and for thee, my son, let her burst into blossom." Hereupon Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, being favored with this poetry, forthwith understood that he was receiving Kami, Naga, Haim as a gift, and greatly delighted made a song in reply, saying, "In the pond of Yasami where the water collects, the marsh rope coils were growing, but I knew not of them. In the river fork stream, the water caltrops shells were pricking me, but I knew not of them. O my heart, how very ridiculous thou wert. Oho Sasaki no Mikoto, after the consummation of his union with Kami Naga, Haim was very attentive to her, and when he was alone with her, made a song, saying, "The maid of Kohata of the further province. As of a god, though I had heard of her, we are folded in each other's arms." Again he made a song, saying, "The maid of Kohata of the further province, oh, how I love her as she lies unresisting." One account says, Ushi, the Kimi of Morigata and Hyuga, was in the service of the court. But having become old in years, he was unable to serve, and so, having ceased his service, he retired to his own land. Thereupon he offered the emperor his own daughter, Kami Naga, Haim. When she first arrived at Harima, the emperor had made a progress to the island of Ahaji and was hunting there. Hereupon the emperor, looking towards the west, saw several tens of stags swimming towards him over the sea. Presently, they entered the harbor of Kako in Harima. The emperor addressed his courtiers, saying, "What stags are these which come in numbers swimming over the great sea?" Then the courtiers all looked at them and wondered. So a messenger was sent to make examination. The messenger, when he came there, saw that they were all men, only they had for clothing deer, skins with the horns attached. He inquired of them, saying, "What men are ye?" They replied, saying, "Ushi, the Kimi of Morigata, being old in years, has ceased his service, but he cannot forget the court. Therefore he offers his own daughter, Kami Naga, Haim." The emperor was delighted, and sending for her, made her follow the imperial ship. For this reason, the men of that time called the place where they reached the shore the harbor of Kako. It was perhaps at this time that the practice began of using the word Kako as a general name for sailors. AD 283. 14th year, spring, 2nd month. The king of Pekshe sent as tribute a seamstress named Maketsu. She was the first ancestress of the present seamstresses of Kyum. This year, the lord of Utsuki came from Pekshe and offered his allegiance. Accordingly, he addressed the emperor, saying, "Thy servant was coming to offer allegiance with 120 districts of the people of his own land, when the men of Silla prevented them, and they were all forced to remain in the land of Kara. Hereupon Katsuraki no Satsuhiko was sent to bring the men of Utsuki from Kara. Now 3 years passed, and Satsuhiko did not come. AD 284. 15th year, autumn, 8th month, 6th day. The king of Pekshe sent a chick, Kai with 2 quiet horses as tribute. So they were fed in stables on the acclivity of Karu. Accordingly, a chick, Kai was appointed to have charge of their foddering. Therefore the place where the horses were kept was named Mumia, Saka. Moreover, a chick, Kai was able to read the classics, and so the heir apparent, Uji no Waka Iritsuko, made him his teacher. Hereupon the emperor inquired of a chick Kai, saying, "Are there other learned men superior to thee?" He answered and said, "There is Wang In, who is superior." Then Arata Wake, ancestor of the Kimi of Kodzuk, and Kamunagi Wake were sent to Pekshe to summon Wang In. This A chick, Kai was the first ancestor of the A chick, Kai no Fumi Biro. AD 285. 16th year, spring, 2nd month. Wang In arrived, and straightway the heir apparent, Uji no Waka Iritsuko, took him as teacher and learnt various books from him. There was none which he did not thoroughly understand. Therefore the man called Wang In was the first ancestor of the Fumi no Abaido. In this year, King Awa of Pekshe died. The emperor then sent for Prince Tyern, Kai, and addressed him, saying, "Do thou return to thy country and succeed to the dignity." Accordingly, he further granted to him the territory of Eastern Han, and so dismissed him. Eastern Han comprises Kam, Nus Seung, Ko Nan Seung, and Irim Seung. 8th month. Kidzu no Sukyun of Heguri, and Tada no Sukyun of Akuba were sent to Kara. Choice troops were granted them, and the emperor commanded them, saying, The long delay in Satsuhiko's return must be owing to his being detained by the opposition of the men of Silla. Do you go speedily, assail Silla, and open a way for him? Hereupon Kidzu no Sukyun and his colleague moved forward their choice troops and arrived at the Silla frontier. The king of Silla was afraid and confessed his guilt, so they brought away with them the people of Kungworld and Satsuhiko. AD 288. 19th year, winter, 10th month, 1st day. The emperor made a progress to the palace of Yashino. At this time, the Kuzu came to his court, and presenting to the emperor newly brewed sake, made a song, saying, "At Kashinafu a cross mortar we made. In that cross mortar the great august sake that we have brewed sweetly do thou partake of it, O, our father." When the song was finished, they drummed on their mouths and looked up laughing. At the present time, on the day that the Kuzu present their country produce to the emperor, when their song is finished they drum on their mouths and look up laughing. This custom is probably a relic of antiquity. Now the Kuzu are very plain and honest in character. They commonly gather wild berries for food, and they also boil frogs, which they reckon a great dainty, calling them kebai. Their country lies to the south, east of the capital, on the other side of a mountain. There they dwell by the river Yashino, steep cliffs and deep ravines. The roads are narrow, with deep hollows. Therefore, although the distance from the capital is not great, their visits to court had been rare. However, from this time forward they came frequently, bringing the produce of their country to present to the emperor. This produce consists of such things as chestnuts, mushrooms, and trout. AD 289. 20th year, autumn, 9th month. Achai no Omi, ancestor of the Ata of the Ire of Yamato, and his son Suga no Omi immigrated to Japan, bringing with them a company of their people of 17 districts. AD 291. 22nd year, spring, 3rd month, 5th day. The emperor made a progress to Naniha, where he dwelt in the palace of Oho, Sumi. 10th day. He ascended a lofty tower and had a distant prospect. Now he was attended by his concubine Yeheim, who, looking towards the west, lamented loudly. Hereupon the emperor inquired of Yeheim, saying, "Why dost thou lament so bitterly?" She answered and said, "Of late thy handmaiden has been thinking fondly of her father and mother, and so, looking towards the west, unawares she made lament. I pray thee let me return for a while that I may see my parents." Hereupon the emperor loved Yeheim tender thought for the warmth and coolness of her parents, and addressing her, said, "Many years have passed since thou hast seen thy parents. It is clearly right that thou shouldst wish to return and visit them." So he granted her permission, and summoning 80 fishermen of Mahara in Ahaji and making sailors of them, sent her to Kibai. Summer, 4th month. Yeheim set sail from Ohatsu and departed. The emperor, standing on the high tower, looked towards Yeheim's ship and made a song, saying, "Thou island of Ahaji with thy double ranges, thou island of Adzuki with thy double ranges, ye good islands asterisk ye have seen face to face my spouse of Kibai." Autumn, 9th month, 6th day. The emperor hunted in the island of Ahaji. This island lies beyond the sea to the west of Naniha. There is a confusion of peaks and cliffs. Hills and valleys succeed to one another. Fragrant herbs grow luxuriantly. It is washed by the long billows. Moreover, great deer, wild ducks, and wild geese are abundant in that island. Therefore the emperor made frequent excursions thither. Now the emperor, going round by way of Ahaji, made a progress to Kibai and went on an excursion to the island of Adzuki. 11th day. He again removed his dwelling to the palace of Ashimori in Hada. Then Maitomo Wake presented himself and entertained the emperor, employing his brother, children, and grandchildren as stewards. Hereupon the emperor, observing the reverential fear with which Mytomo Wake waited on him, was pleased, and accordingly, having divided the province of Kibai, granted it in fee to his children. That is to say, dividing off the district of Kahashima, he granted it to the eldest son, Inehia Wake. He was the first ancestor of the Omi of Shimo, Su, Michai. Next he took the district of Kamu, Su, Micha, and granted it to the middle son, Nakatsuhiko. He was the first ancestor of the Omi of Kamutsu, Michai, and of the Omi of Kaya. Next he took the district of Mino and granted it to Otohiko. He was the first ancestor of the Omi of Mino. Afterwards he took the district of Hakyuk and granted it to Ahuru Wake, the younger brother of Mytomo Wake. He was the first ancestor of the Omi of Kasa. Accordingly, he took the district of Sono and granted it to his elder brother, Urikori Wake. He was the first ancestor of the Atah of Sono. And taking the district of Hattori, he granted it to Yaheim. Wherefore his descendants dwell to this day in the land of Kibai. This is the reason of it. AD 294. 25th year. King Tyern, Kai of Pekshe, died. Accordingly, his son Sin became king. The king was a child. Therefore Kai of Yamato took the administration of the state. He had an intrigue with the king mother, and his conduct was in many ways improper. The emperor, hearing this, sent for him. The Pekshe record says, Kai was the son of Nakyuncha, born to him of a Silla woman when he invaded that country. The great services of his father gave him absolute authority in Imna. He came into our country and went back and forward to the honorable country, accepting the control of the celestial court. He seized the administration of our country, and his power was supreme in that day. The emperor, hearing of his violence, recalled him, AD 297. 28th year, autumn, 9th month. The king of Koryar sent an envoy to the court with tribute. He presented an address in which it was said, "The king of Koryar instructs the land of Nippon." Now the heir apparent, Uji no Waka, Iritsuko, read this address and was enraged. He reproached the Koryar envoy with the rudeness of the address and tore it up. AD 300. 31st year, autumn, 8th month. The emperor commanded his ministers, saying, "The government ship named Kurano was sent as tribute by the land of Aidzu. It is rotten and unfit for use. It has, however, been in government use for a long time, and its services should not be forgotten. Shall we not keep the name of that ship from being lost and hand it down to after ages?" The ministers, on receiving this command, made the functionaries take the timber of that ship and use it as firewood for roasting salt. Herewith they got 500 baskets of salt, which were freely given away to the various provinces, and the latter were accordingly caused to build ships. Upon this, all the provinces at the same time sent up ships as tribute, to the number of 500, which all assembled in the harbor of Muko. At this time, the Silla tribute, envoys were stopping along with them at Muko. Hereupon, of a sudden, fire broke out in the Silla lodgings. It presently spread to the fleet of ships, so that many of them were burnt. In consequence of this, the Silla men were called to an account. The king of Silla, when he heard of it, was afraid, and greatly alarmed, sent tribute of skillful workmen. They were the first ancestors of the Wina bee. In the beginning, when the ship Kurano was burnt as firewood for making salt, some was left over from the burning. It was thought strange that it did not burn, and it was accordingly presented to the emperor. The emperor wondered at it, and had it made into a kodo, which had a ringing note and could be heard afar off. Then the emperor made a song, saying, "Kurano was burnt for salt. Of the remainder a kodo was made. When it is played on, the saya of the summer trees brushing against, as they stand, The rocks of the mid-harbor, the harbor of Ura. AD 306. 37th year, spring, 2nd month, 1st day. Achai no Omi and Suga no Omi were sent to Wu to procure seamstresses. Now Achai no Omi and his companions crossed over to the land of Koryar and endeavored to reach Wu. But on arriving at Koryar, they knew not the road at all, and begged Koryar to give them persons who knew the road. The king of Koryar sent with them as guides 2 men called Kureha and Kureshi. In this way, they were enabled to reach Wu. The king of Wu thereupon gave them 4 women as workwomen, namely Yi, Haim, Odo, Haim, Kure Hattori, and Anna Hattori. AD 308. 39th year, spring, 2nd month. The king of Pekshe sent his younger sister, the lady Sin Chatu, to wait upon. Now the lady Sin Chatu came over, bringing in her train 7 women. AD 309. 40th year, spring, 1st month, 8th day. The emperor summoned to him Oho Yama, Mori no Mikoto, and Oho Sasaki no Mikoto, and inquired of them, saying, "Do ye love your children?" They answered and said, "We love them exceedingly." Again he inquired, "Which are most dear, the elder ones or the younger?" Oho Yama, Mori no Mikoto, answered and said, "There is none like the elder." On this the emperor showed displeasure. Then Oho Sasaki no Mikoto, who had previously observed the emperor expression of face, answered and said, "The older has experienced many colds and heats, and has already become a man, so that there is no reason for anxiety about him. But in the case of a young child, one knows not whether he will reach manhood or not, and for that reason he is very pitiable." The emperor was greatly pleased and said, "Thy words are truly in accordance with my feelings." At this time, it was the emperor's constant desire to establish Uji no Waka, Iritsuko, as Prince Imperial, and so he wished to conciliate the minds of the 2 imperial princes. Therefore, he started this inquiry. On this account, he was displeased with Oho Yama, Mori no Mikoto answer. 24th day. Uji no Waka, Iritsuko was established as successor. On the same day, Oho Yama, Mori no Mikoto was appointed to the charge of the mountains, rivers, woods, and moors, while Oho Sasaki no Mikoto was made assistant to the Prince Imperial and caused to administer affairs of state. AD 310. 41st year, spring, 2nd month, 15th day. The emperor died in the palace of Toyo, Akira, at the age of 110. One account says, he died in the palace of Oho, Kuma. In this month, Achai no Omi and his companions arrived in Tsukushi from Wu. Now the great god of Muna, Gada, asked for workwomen. Therefore Haim was offered to the great god of Muna, Gada. She was the ancestor of the Mitsukahi no Kimi, who now dwell in the land of Tsukushi. He then took with him the 3 women and proceeded to the land of Tsu. But when he reached Muko, the emperor was dead and he was too late. Accordingly, he offered them to Oho Sasaki no Mikoto. The descendants of these women are the present seamstresses of Kure and the seamstresses of Kaya. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 11. The Emperor Oichai, Sazki. The Emperor Oho Sasaki was the 4th child of the Emperor Himuda. His mother name was Nakatsu, Haim no Mikoto. She was a granddaughter of the Imperial Prince Ihoki Iri, Hiko. The emperor from his childhood was intelligent and sagacious, and his face was fair to look upon. When he grew to manhood, he was indulgent and humane. The Emperor Himuda died in spring, the 2nd month of the 41st year of his reign. Now the Prince Imperial offered to cede the dignity to Oho Sasaki no Mikoto. He would not assume the imperial dignity, but advised with Oho Sasaki no Mikoto saying, "He that shall rule over the empire and govern the myriad subjects should overspread them like heaven, and comprehend them like earth. If there is above a cheerful heart with which to employ the people are happy, and the empire tranquil. But here am I, a younger brother, and moreover wanting in talent. How shall I presume to succeed to the dignity, and to enter upon the celestial task? But thou, O great prince, art distinguished in appearance and of a far-reaching benevolence. Thou art also of ripe years and art fit to become lord of the empire. The late emperor established me as his heir. But was this for my abilities? No, it was simply because he loved me. Moreover, there is the weighty matter of the service of the ancestral shrines, and of the gods of the earth and of grain. For this, thy servant is wanting in ready tact, and is unmeet to fill the office. Now, there is a general principle, admitted by both ancient and modern times, that the elder brother should be above, and the younger brother below, that the wise man should be lord, and the stupid man a vassal. Let the prince therefore unhesitatingly assume the imperial dignity, and I will be simply his servant and assistant." Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto answered and said, "It was the intention of the late emperor that the imperial dignity should not be vacant for a single day. Therefore he made choice beforehand of an illustrious virtue, and established the prince as his duplicate. The succession he bestowed on thee, and the people he granted to thee. Let us honor his preference, and publish it throughout the land. Wanting in wisdom though I am, shall I disregard the command of the late emperor, and without consideration comply with the request of the prince, my younger brother?" He firmly declined and would not receive it, and each of them wished to transfer to the other. At this time, the imperial prince Nukata no Oho Naka Tsu, Hiko, intending to take charge of the official rice, lands and granary of Yamato, addressed Ono Sukyun, ancestor of the Omi of Izumo, who was the officer charged with these official rice lands, saying, "These official rice lands were originally mountain, warden, land, and therefore I will now take the management of them." Oho Sasaki no Mikoto inquired of Maro, the ancestor of the Ata of Yamato, saying, "It is stated that the official rice lands of Yamato were originally mountain, warden, land. How is this?" He answered and said, "Thy servant knows not. But thy servant younger brother, Akoko, knows. It happened that at this time Akoko had been sent to the Han country and had not yet returned." Hereupon Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto spake to Ao, saying, "Do thou go thyself to the Han country and summon Akoko. Go quickly, traveling day and night." So he assigned to him 80 fishermen of Ahaji as sailors. Hereupon Ao proceeded to the Han country, and straightway came accompanied by Akoko. Accordingly, he was asked about the Yamato official rice lands. He replied, saying, "I have heard by tradition that, in the time of the emperor who reigned in the palace of Tamaki at Makamuku, the official rice fields of Yamato were settled in the charge of Oho, Tarashi, Hiko no Mikoto, the Prince Imperial. At that time, there was an imperial decree to the effect that the official rice lands of Yamato were always to be the official rice lands of the reigning sovereign, and could not be held by anyone who was not the reigning sovereign, even an emperor child. It is therefore wrong to say that this is mountain, warden land." Then Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto sent Akoko to the imperial prince Nukata no Oho Nakatsu, Hiko, and made him acquaint him with these circumstances. The imperial prince Oho Naka, Su, Hiko knew not at all what to do, and Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, recognizing that he was in the wrong, forgave him and did not punish him. Thereafter Prince Oho, Yama, Mori was full of resentment that he was passed over by the late emperor and not established as Prince Imperial. In addition, he had this cause of hatred. So he plotted, saying, "I will kill the Prince Imperial and will ultimately ascend to the imperial dignity." Hereupon Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, having heard beforehand of his plot, secretly advised the Prince Imperial to prepare soldiers for his protection. Then the Prince Imperial got ready troops and awaited him. The Imperial Prince Oho, Yama Mori, not knowing that soldiers had been prepared, took with him only a few hundred fighting men, and starting in the middle of the night, proceeded thither. At dawn he arrived at Ōjin, and was about to cross the river when the Prince Imperial, having put on hempen garments, took the helm and secretly mingled with the ferrymen. He then took the Imperial Prince Oho, Yama, Mori on board and ferried him over as far as the middle of the river, where he induced the ferrymen to step on the boat and make it heel over. Hereupon the Imperial Prince Oho, Yama, Mori fell into the river and sank. But he rose to the surface again, and while floating down the stream made a song, saying, "At the ferry of Ōjin among the pole, men those who are nimblest will come to me." But a large number of ambushed soldiers sprang up, so that he was unable to reach the bank, and he finally sank and died. Search was caused to be made for his dead body, and it came to the surface at the ferry of Kahara. Then the Prince Imperial, seeing the dead body, made a song, saying, "O thou Mayumi tree for its Yusa boughs that growest by the ferry of Ōjin. In my heart I thought to cut thee, in my heart I thought to take thee, but at the bottom of my lord I bethought me, but at the top of thy spouse I bethought me. There I thought pitifully, here I thought mournfully, uncut I leave thee, O thou Mayumi tree for its Yusa boughs." So he was buried at Mount Nara. Afterwards the Prince Imperial built a palace at Ōjin, wherein he dwelt. Moreover, in consequence of his ceding the dignity to Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, he remained for a long time without assuming the imperial rank. Now 3 years passed, during which the imperial rank was vacant. Then there was a fisherman who brought a basket of fresh fish, which he offered as a present at the Ōjin palace. The Prince Imperial commanded the fisherman, saying, "I am not the emperor," and sent him away, telling him to present it at Naniha. Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto also sent him away, telling him to present it at Ōjin. Hereupon the fisherman basket became putrid on his journeys back and forward. So he sent it away again and procured other fresh fish, which he presented, and which were declined as on the previous day. The fresh fish again became putrid. The fisherman was grieved at his frequent returning, so he flung away the fresh fish and wept. Therefore the proverbial saying, "There is a fisherman who weeps on account of his own things," which had its origin in this. The Prince Imperial said, "I know that the prince, my elder brother, is not to be moved from his resolution. Why then should I prolong my life and give trouble to the empire?" So he died by his own hand. Then Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto, hearing of the Prince Imperial death, was greatly shocked, and hastening from Naniha arrived at the palace of Ōjin. Now 3 days had passed since the Prince Imperial death. Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto beat his breast, wept aloud, and knew not what to do. He loosed out his hair, and bestriding the corpse, called upon him thrice, saying, "Oh, my younger brother, the Imperial Prince." In course of time he came to life, raised himself up, and remained in a sitting posture. Hereupon Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto addressed the heir apparent, saying, "Oh, what grief! Oh, what regret! Why didst thou pass away of thine own accord? If the dead had any knowledge, what would the late emperor think of me?" So the Prince Imperial addressed the prince his elder brother, saying, "It is the command of heaven. Who may stay it? If I should go to the place where the emperor is, I will tell him of all the prince, my elder brother wisdom, and also of my abdication. But the sage prince must surely be fatigued after the long and hurried journey which he undertook on hearing of my death." So he presented to him the imperial princess Yada, his younger sister by the same mother, saying, "Though she is unworthy of thy nuptials, she may in some small measure serve to be entered in the number of the side courts." So he lay down again in his coffin and died. Hereupon Oho, Sasaki no Mikoto put on plain, unbleached garments and began mourning for him, and his lamentation was exceedingly pathetic. He was buried on the top of the hill of Ōjin. AD 313. First year, spring, first month, third day. Oh-ho, Sasaki no Mikoto assumed the imperial dignity. The empress was honored with the title of Grand Empress. He made his capital at Naniha. It was called the Palace of Taikatsu. The palace enclosure and buildings were not plastered. The gable rafters and ridgepoles, the posts and pillars were devoid of ornament. The covering of thatch was not evenly trimmed. This was that he might not delay the season of agricultural operations for the sake of his own personal caprices. Before this time, on the day that the emperor was born, an owl entered the parturition house. The next morning, the Emperor Hamuda called to him the Prime Minister Takeshai no Sukyun and addressed him, saying, "What may this portend?" The Prime Minister answered and said, "It is a lucky omen. Moreover, yesterday, when thy servant wife was in labor, a wren entered the parturition house. This also is strange." Hereupon the emperor said, "Now our child and the Prime Minister child have been born on the same day. In the case of both, there are omens. This is an indication from heaven. Let us take the names of these birds, and each exchanging them, call our children after them as a covenant to future generations." So he took the name Ren and called the Prince Imperial by it, saying, "The Imperial Prince Oho Sasaki." And he took the name Owl and called the Prime Minister child by it, saying, Dizuku no Sukyun. He was the first ancestor of the Omi of Heguri. This year was the year Midzunodo Torai of the cycle. AD 314. Second year, spring, third month, 8th day. Aiha no Haim no Mikoto was appointed empress. She was the mother of the Emperor Ohai, ni Iza, Ho Wake of the Imperial Prince Sumino no Nakatsu of the Emperor Midzu, Ha Wake, and of the Emperor Wo Asatsu ma Waku, Go no Sukyun. Another consort, Kami Naga, Haim of Hyuga, bore to him the Imperial Prince Oho, Kusaka, and the Imperial Princess Hatahi. AD 316. Fourth year, spring, second month, 6th day. The emperor addressed his ministers, saying, "We ascended a lofty tower and looked far and wide, but no smoke arose in the land. From this, we gather that the people are poor, and that in the houses there are none cooking their rice. We have heard that in the reigns of the wise sovereigns of antiquity, from everyone was heard the sound of songs hymning their virtue. In every house there was the ditty, 'How happy are we?' But now when we observe the people, for 3 years past, no voice of eulogy is heard. The smoke of cooking has become rarer and rarer. By this, we know that the 5 grain do not come up, and that the people are in extreme want. Even in the home provinces, there are some who are not supplied. What must it be in the provinces outside of our domain?" Third month, 21st day. The following decree was issued. From this time forward, for the space of 3 years, let forced labor be entirely abolished, and let the people have rest from toil. From this day forth, his robes of state and shoes did not wear out, and none were made. The warm food and hot broths did not become sour or putrid, and were not renewed. He disciplined his heart and restrained his impulses, so that he discharged his functions without effort. Therefore the palace enclosure fell to ruin and was not rebuilt. The thatch decayed and was not repaired. The wind and rain entered by the chinks and soaked the coverlets. The starlight filtered through the decayed places and exposed the bed mats. After this, the wind and rain came in due season. The 5 grains produced in abundance. For the space of 3 autumns the people had plenty. The praises of his virtue filled the land, and the smoke of cooking was also thick. AD 319. 7th year, summer, 4th month, 1st day. The emperor was on his tower, and looking far and wide, saw smoke arising plentifully. On this day he addressed the empress, saying, "We are now prosperous. What can there be to grieve for?" The empress answered and said, "What dost thou mean by prosperity?" The emperor said, "It is doubtless when the smoke fills the land and the people freely attain to wealth." The empress went on to say, "The palace enclosure is crumbling down, and there are no means of repairing it. The buildings are dilapidated so that the coverlets are exposed." "Can this be called prosperity?" The emperor said. "When heaven establishes a prince, it is for the sake of the people. The prince must therefore make the people the foundation. For this reason, the wise sovereigns of antiquity, if a single one of their subjects was cold and starving, cast the responsibility on themselves. Now the people poverty is no other than our poverty. The people prosperity is none other than our prosperity. There is no such thing as the people being prosperous, and yet the prince in poverty." Autumn, 8th month, 9th day. For the imperial prince Ōjin Izaho, wake there was established the Mibu bee, and again for the empress there was established the Katsuraki bee. 9th month. The provinces, without exception, petitioned, saying, "3 years have now elapsed since forced labor was altogether remitted. The palace buildings have therefore become decayed, and the treasury empty. The black-headed people have now abundance, and remnants are not picked up. Therefore in the villages there are no men without wives or women without husbands. In the houses there is store of spare provisions. If at such a time there was no payment of taxes with which to repair the palace buildings, we fear that we should incur guilt in the sight of heaven." The emperor, however, continued to be patient and would not grant their petition. AD 322. 10th year, winter, 10th month. Forced labor for the building of a palace was imposed for the first time. Hereupon the people, without superintendents, supporting the aged and leading by the hand the young, transported timber, carried baskets on their backs, and worked their hardest without distinction of night or day, vying with one another in the construction. In this manner, ere long the palace buildings were every one completed. Therefore up to the present day, he is styled the sage emperor. AD 323. 11th year, summer, 4th month, 16th day. The emperor commanded his ministers, saying, "Viewing this land, the moors and marshes extend far and wide, and the cultivated fields are few and rare. Moreover, the river waters spread out to each side, so that the lower streams flow sluggishly. Should there happen to be continuous rains, the tide from the sea flows up against them, so that one may ride in boats through the villages, and the highways, too, are covered with mud. Therefore do ye our ministers examine this together, and having ascertained the source of the divergence, make a channel for them to the sea, and, staying the contrary flow, preserve the fields and houses." Winter, 10th month. The plain north of the palace was excavated, and the water from the south diverted into the western sea. Therefore that water was called by the name Hori, Yi. Moreover, in order to prevent the overflowing of the northern river, the Mamuta embankment was constructed. At this time, there were 2 parts of the construction which gave way and could not be stopped up. Then the emperor had a dream in which he was admonished by a god, saying, "There is a man of Musashi named Koha, Kyūbai, and a man of Kahachi named Koromo no Ko, the Mureji of Mamuta. Let these 2 men be sacrificed to the river, god, and thou wilt surely be enabled to close the gaps." So he sought for these 2 men, and having found them, sacrificed them to the river, god. Hereupon Koha, Kyūbai wept and lamented, and plunging into the water, died. So that embankment was completed. Koromo no Ko, however, took 2 whole calabashes, and standing over the water which could not be dammed, plunged the 2 calabashes into the mid-stream and prayed, saying, "O thou river, God, who hast sent the curse, I have now come hither as a sacrifice. If thou dost persist in thy desire to have me, sink these calabashes, and let them not rise to the surface. Then shall I know that thou art a true God, and will enter the water of my own accord. But if thou canst not sink the calabashes, I shall, of course, know that thou art a false god, for whom, why should I spend my life in vain? Hereupon a whirlwind arose suddenly which drew with it the calabashes and tried to submerge them in the water. But the calabashes, dancing on the waves, would not sink, and floated far away over the wide waters. In this way, that embankment was completed, although Koromo no Ko did not die. Accordingly, Koromo no Ko cleverness saved his life. Therefore the men of that time gave a name to these two places, calling them Kohakubai Gap and Koromo no Ko Gap. This year men of Silla came to the court with tribute, and were made to labor at this public work. AD 324. 12th year, autumn, 7th month, 3rd day. The land of Courier sent tribute of iron shields and iron targets. 8th month, 10th day. The Courier guests were entertained at court. On this day, the ministers and functionaries were assembled and made to shoot at the iron shields and targets presented by Courier. Nobody could pierce the targets except Tatebido no Sukyun, the ancestor of the Omi of Akuba, who shot at the iron targets and pierced them. Then the guests from Courier, when they saw this, were struck with awe by his excellent skill in archery, and standing up together, did obeisance to the emperor. The next day the emperor commended Tatebido no Sukyun and gave him a title, calling him Akuba no Toda no Sukyun. On the same day, a title was given to Sukyun no Omi, the ancestor of the Miyako of Ohase, and he was called Sakashi, Nakori no Omi. Winter, 10th month. The Great Canal was dug in the district of Kurakuma in Yamashiro for the irrigation of the rice fields. By this means, the peasants of that district had always years of abundance. AD 325. 13th year, autumn, 9th month. Now, for the first time, official granaries were established at Mamuda. The Yuzu-mi-bi was accordingly instituted. Winter, 10th month. The pond of Wani was made. In the same month, the Yakono embankment was constructed. AD 326. 14th year, winter, 11th month. A bridge was made at the Wakahi Ferry. It was this place which was called Wo-bashi. In this year, a highway was constructed and laid down within the capital from the south gate, extending in a straight line as far as the village of Tajihi. Moreover, a great canal was dug in Konku by which the water of the Ishikawa River was brought to irrigate the 4 waste plains of Upper Suzuka and Lower Suzuka, Upper Toyora and Lower Toyora. By bringing these under cultivation, there were gained more than 40 kyung of rice, land. Therefore the peasants of those places enjoyed abundance, and there was no longer the plague of bad years. AD 328. 16th year, autumn, 7th month, 1st day. The emperor, indicating Kyuhara no Kyugaheim, a lady of the palace, to his personal attendants, said, "It is our desire to bestow affection on this damsel, but harassed by the empress' jealousy, we have not been able to become united to her. Many years have passed. Why should she waste her years of bloom?" So he made a song, saying, "Who will nourish the daughter of the Omi that sweeps along the bottom of the water?" Then Heiamachi, the ancestor of the Miyako of the province of Harima, advanced alone and made a song, saying, "I, Heiamachi of Harima, though full of awe, like rocks tumbling down, I will nourish her." That same day, Kyugaheim was given to Heiamachi. On the evening of the next day, Heiamachi went to Kyugaheim house. Now Kyugaheim would not comply with his wishes, but he persisted in approaching the curtained space. Then Kyugaheim said, "Thy handmaiden will end her years husbandless. How can she become my lord wife?" Now the emperor, when he heard this, wished to accomplish Heiamachi desires, so he sent Kyugaheim along with Heiamachi to Kyuhara. But Kyugaheim straightway became ill and died on the journey. Therefore, there is to this day the tomb of Kyugaheim. AD 329. 17th year. Silla did not attend the court with tribute. Autumn, 9th month. Toda no Tsukyun, ancestor of the Omi of Akuba and Sakashi, Nakori no Omi, ancestor of the Miyako of Ohase, were sent to inquire the reason of the failure to send tribute. Hereupon the Silla people were afraid, and presented 1,460 pieces of tribute, fine silks, and miscellaneous objects of all kinds in all 80 ship loads. AD 334. 22nd year, spring, 1st month. The emperor addressed the empress, saying, "I have taken to me the imperial princess Yada and am about to make her my concubine." But the empress would not allow it. Hereupon the emperor made a song, in which he besought the empress, saying, "As a means of raising up dear ones, as a spare bowstring to supply a vacancy I would place along with." The empress made a song in reply, saying, "In the case of garments to double them is well, but my lord who would set in a row the couches of night, I wonder if he is wise." The emperor again made a song, saying, "Like the shore of Narabi of Cape Naniha that projects it must have been solely to be thy comrade that child came into being." The empress made a song in reply, saying, "Like the summer insect, the insect that seeks the fire wearing double garments, that the palace precinct should be thus, nay, it is not good." The emperor again made a song, saying, "Even the traveler, who with unshared tears toils over the little pass of Hika in a Satsuma, well for him had he a companion." The empress finally refused her consent. Therefore she was silent and answered not again. AD 342. 30th year, autumn, 9th month, 11th day. The empress made an excursion to the land of Ki. She went as far as Cape Kumano and was coming back with leaves of the Mitsuna, which she had gathered there. On this day the emperor, espying the empress' absence, wedded the imperial princess Yada and placed her in the palace. Now the empress, when she arrived at the Naniha ferry, heard that the emperor had become united to the imperial princess Yada and was very wroth. She flung into the sea the Mitsuna leaves which she had gathered and would not land. Wherefore the men of that day called the sea where the leaves were scattered Kashiha no Watari, or the Kashiha ferry. Now the emperor, unaware that the empress was angry and would not land, went in person to the great harbor, and while awaiting the empress ship, made a song, saying, "Ye men of Naniha, haul along the bell ship, soaked as to your loins, haul along that ship. Haul along the great august ship." Now the empress did not anchor at the great harbor, but drew onwards again, and, ascending the river, went round by way of Yamashiro, in the direction of Yamato. The next day the emperor sent an attendant named Toriyama to bring the empress back, and made a song, saying, "In Yamashiro overtake her, Toriyama. Overtake her, my beloved spouse. I wonder wilt thou overtake and join her." The empress would not come back, but continued her journey as far as the river of Yamashiro, where she made a song, saying, "Ascending the river of Yamashiro as I ascend it, by the river bend there stands luxuriant an 80-leaved tree. Is it the great lord?" So she crossed over Mount Nara, and looking on Katsuraki, she made a song, saying, "Going up to Miya, as I ascend the river of Yamashiro Nara I pass of fertile soil. Yamato I pass, shielded by its mountains. The land I long to see is Takamiya of Katsuraki, for there is my home." Returning again to Yamashiro, she built a palace on the south side of the hill of Tsutsuki and dwelt there. Winter, 10th month, 1st day. Kuchai no Omi, ancestor of the Omi of Akuba, was sent to fetch the empress. One version says, Kuchai no Omi, ancestor of the Omi of Wani. Now Kuchai no Omi went to the palace of Tsutsuki and wished to have audience of the empress, but she remained silent and answered not. Then Kuchai no Omi prostrated himself before the Empress Hall, and remained there day and night drenched by the rain and snow, and did not move. Hereupon Kuchai no Omi younger sister, Kuniori, Haim, who was in the service of the Empress, and happened just then to be in attendance upon her, saw her elder brother wet with the rain, and shed tears and made a song, saying, "In the palace of Tsutsuki in Yamashiro, when I see my elder brother delivering his message, my eyes fill with tears." Then the Empress addressed Kuniori, Haim, saying, "Why weepest thou?" She answered and said, "He that lies prostrate in the courtyard and begs an audience is thy handmaiden elder brother. He is wet with the rain, and does not flinch, but still lies prostrate in the hope of an audience of thee. This is why I weep and am sorrowful." Then the Empress addressed her, saying, "Tell thy elder brother to return with all speed." "I will never go back." Kuchai accordingly returned and made his report to the Emperor. 11th month, 7th day. The Emperor made a progress by river to Yamashiro. At this time, there was a mulberry branch floating down the stream. The Emperor looked at the mulberry branch and made a song, saying, "The mulberry tree which Iha no Haim will not listen to, even absently may not reach. But by the bends of the river it seems to go tossing on. Oh, that mulberry tree." On the next day, the imperial cortege arrived at the palace of Tsutsuki. The Empress was sent for, but she refused to appear before the Emperor. Then the Emperor made a song, saying, "Like the radishes dug up with the wooden hose of the women of Yamashiro, /displaced all /script style, /left // begin matrix / end matrix / right. Purely, purely, clamorously, because thou hast spoken, I have come hither like the flourishing trees which I look over at." Again he made a song, saying, "Had I not had for my pillow thine arm white as the whiteness of the roots of the radishes dug up with the wooden hose of the women of Yamashiro, then mightest thou say that thou knowest me not." Then the Empress sent a message to the Emperor, saying, "My lord has taken the imperial princess Yada and made her his concubine. Now I do not wish to be associated with the princess as consort." So she refused to enter his presence, and the imperial carriage returned to the palace. The Emperor hereupon resented the Empress' great indignation, but yet continued to love her. AD 343. 31st year, spring, 1st month, 15th day. Ōjin, Izaho, Wake no Mikoto was appointed Prince Imperial. AD 347. 35th year, summer, 6th month. The Empress Iha no Haim no Mikoto died in the palace of Tsutsuki. AD 349. 37th year, winter, 11th month, 12th day. The Empress was buried on Mount Nara. AD 350. 38th year, spring, 1st month, 6th day. The imperial princess Yada was appointed Empress. Autumn, 7th month. The Emperor and Empress dwelt in a high tower to escape from the heat. At this time, there was heard every night from the moor of Toga the cry of deer with a musical, yet melancholy sound, so that a feeling of pity arose in them both. But when the interlune came, the cry of the deer was no longer heard. Hereupon the Emperor addressed the Empress, saying, "This evening the deer does not bell. Wherefore is this?" The next day, a Saheki bee of the district of Wina presented a basket. The Emperor caused a steward to make inquiry of him, saying, "What is this basket?" The answer was, "A buck." He inquired, "A deer of what place?" and was told, "Of Toga Moor." The Emperor considered that this basket must be the deer which had belled, and he accordingly addressed the Empress, saying, "We have been soothed in the anxious thoughts which have of late possessed us by listening to the belling of a deer. Now when the day or night, and the mountain or moor of the deer which has been caught are considered, they correspond to the deer which belled. It is true that that man was not aware of our feelings of affection, and that it was by chance that he came to take it. We nevertheless cannot resist a feeling of resentment. It is therefore our wish that the Sahekibi shall not approach the imperial palace. So he made the officials remove his residence to Nuta Inaki. He was the ancestor of the present Sahekibi of Nuta Inaki. There is a popular story that a long time ago there was a man who went to Toga and spent the night on the moor. Now there were 2 deer which lay down beside him. When it was on the point of crow, the male deer addressed the female, saying, "This night I had a dream in which I saw a white mist come down copiously and cover my body." "What may this portend?" The female deer answered and said, "If thou goest out, thou wilt certainly be shot by men and die, and so thy body will be smeared with white salt to correspond with the whiteness of the mist." Now the man who was spending the night there wondered at this in his heart. Before it was yet dawn, there came a hunter who shot the male deer and killed it. Hence the proverbial saying of the men of that day, even the belling male deer follows the interpretation of a dream. AD 352. 40th year, spring, 3rd month. The emperor wished to take to himself the imperial princess Midori as concubine, and made the imperial prince Hayabusa wake his middle man. Now the imperial prince Hayabusa secretly wedded her himself, and for a long time made no report of his mission. Hereupon the emperor, not knowing that she had a husband, went in person to the imperial princess Midori chamber. At this time the imperial princess was weaving, and her women made a song, saying, "The metal loom of heaven, the everlasting, the metal loom where Midori is weaving stuff for an august cloak for Hayabusa wake." Upon this, the emperor saw that the imperial prince Hayabusa wake had secretly wedded her, and was angry. But out of regard for what the empress might say, and also from respect for the principle which governs the relation of stem and branches, he was patient and did not punish him. Now the imperial prince Hayabusa wake was lying down for a little with his head pillowed on the imperial princess' knee. Whereupon he addressed her, saying, "Which is the swiftest, the wren or the falcon?" She said, "The falcon." Then the imperial prince said, "That means that I shall be first." The emperor heard these words, and his wrath was aroused again. At this time, the imperial prince Hayabusa wake attendants made a song, saying, "The falcon ascending to heaven with soaring flight, let him seize the wren on the top of the tsuki trees." When the emperor heard this song, he flew into a great rage and said, "We were unwilling for a private cause of hate to destroy one related to us, and we were patient. Why should a private cause of quarrel be converted into a matter which affects the state?" So he wished to kill the imperial prince Hayabusa wake. Now the imperial prince fled with the imperial princess Midori, intending to place her in the shrine of Ise. Hereupon the emperor, hearing that the imperial prince Hayabusa wake had run away, straightway sent Wafuna of the Hanshibi of Kibai and Aganoko, Atah of Saheki and Harama, saying, "Pursue them, and when you overtake them, slay them forthwith." Hereupon the empress addressed the emperor, saying, "Truly the imperial princess Midori is liable to severe punishment. But when she is killed, I hope her body may not be exposed." Accordingly, he gave orders to Wafuna and his colleague not to take the imperial princess leg, jewels or arm jewels. Wafuna and his colleague pursued them as far as Yuta and closed on them at Mount Soni. Here they hid in the herbage, and escaping by only a little, fled hastily and crossed the mountain. Then the imperial prince made a song, saying, "Even this mountain, steep as a ladder, when I cross over it with thee, my love, seems a restful couch." Hereupon Wafuna and the rest, seeing that they had escaped, followed after hastily, and when they came to the moor of Kamashiro in Ise, slew them. Then Wafuna and the others searched for the imperial princess jewels, and took them from within her undergarments. So they buried the bodies of the prince and princess on the bank of the river Ihoki, and then made their report to the emperor. The empress caused inquiry to be made of Wafuna and the others, saying, "Did you see the imperial princess jewels?" They answered and said, "We did not see them." That year, during the month of the festival of tasting the first rice on the day of the banquet, sake was given to the princesses and ladies of the inner and outer circle. Thereupon, on the hands of two women, viz., the wife of Waka Mori Yama, Kimi of the mountains of Afumi, and Ihasakiheim, one of the Unime, there were entwined excellent jewels. The empress, observing that these jewels resembled those of the imperial princess Midori, straightway became suspicious and commanded an official to inquire under what circumstances they had come by these jewels. They answered and said, "They are the jewels of the wife of Aganoko, the Ata of Sahaki." So Aganoko, being interrogated, answered and said, "On the day that the imperial princess was put to death, I searched her and took them." So they were about to put Aganoko to death. But he offered to the emperor all his private lands and prayed to escape from death. Therefore his land was confiscated and the death penalty remitted. On this account, that land was called Tama de AD 353. 41st year, spring, 3rd month. Kainotsuno no Sukyun was sent to Pekshe. He was the first to distinguish the boundaries of provinces and districts, and to commit to writing in detail the productions of the soil in each locality. At this time, Lord Chayu, the grandson of the king of Pekshe, was disrespectful, and accordingly Kainotsuno no Sukyun remonstrated with the king of Pekshe. The king of Pekshe was afraid, and binding Lord Chayu in iron chains, delivered him up in charge of Satsuhiko. Now Lord Chayu, when he came to Japan, straightway ran away and concealed himself in the house of Koroshi, Abido of Nishikori in Ishikawa, deceiving him by saying, "The empress has pardoned thy servant offense. Therefore have I betaken myself to thee for maintenance." A long time after the emperor ultimately forgave him his offense. AD 355. 43rd year, autumn, 9th month, 1st day. Tsuchigura, a hiko of Yasami, caught a strange bird and presented it to the emperor, saying, "I am constantly spreading nets and catching birds in them, but never before have I caught a bird of this kind. I therefore thought it curious and offer it to his majesty." The emperor sent for Lord Chayu and, pointing to the bird, said, "What bird is this?" Lord Chayu answered and said, "Birds of this kind are numerous in Pekshe. They can be tamed so as to be quite obedient to man. Moreover, they are swift of flight and prey upon all kinds of birds. The common people in Pekshe call them kuchai, so it was given to Lord Chayu to be fed and tamed. In no long time, he succeeded in taming it. Lord Chayu accordingly fastened to its leg a soft leather strap and attached to its tail a small bell. Then, placing it on his forearm, he presented it to the emperor. On this day, he went to the moor of Mazu and hunted. At this time, a large number of hen pheasants got up, and the falcon was let loose and made to catch them. It speedily caught several tens of pheasants. In this month, the bee of Taka, Amma, was first established. Therefore, the men of that time called the place where the falcon was brought up the village of Taka, Amma. AD 362. 50th year, spring, 3rd month, 5th day. A man of Kahachi informed the emperor, saying, "A wild goose has laid an egg on the Mamuda embankment." That same day, a messenger was sent to see. He said, "It is true." The emperor hereupon made a song, in which he inquired of Takeshai no Sukyun, saying, "O Aso of Achai, asterisk thou beyond all others, a man distant of age, thou beyond all others, a man long in the land, hast thou not heard that a wild goose has laid an egg in Akitsushima, the land of Yamato?" Takeshai no Sukyun made a song in reply, saying, "Our great lord who rules tranquilly, right is he to ask me. For in Akitsushima, in the land of Yamato, never have I heard that a wild goose has laid an egg." AD 365. 53rd year, Silla did not attend the court with tribute. 5th month. Takahase, ancestor of the Kimi of Kodzuk, was sent to ask the reason of the failure to send tribute. On his way, he took a white deer, and returning with it, presented it to the emperor. He then chose another day and started on his journey. Shortly after, the emperor sent in addition Takahase's younger brother Tamichi and commanded him, saying, "If Silla is recalcitrant, raise an army and invade that land." So he gave him chosen troops. Silla raised an army and made opposition. Now the Silla men offered battle daily. But Tamichi made strong his barriers and would not go out. Now a Silla soldier who had been let out from the camp was taken prisoner. So being questioned as to the condition of affairs, he answered, saying, "There are mighty men, called the 100 Thrusters, nimble and valorous, who always form the right van of the army. Therefore, if you observe this and attack the left, it will be routed." Now Silla allowed the left to be vacant and filled up the numbers of the right. Hereupon Tamichi, drawing up his picked cavalry, attacked their left, upon which the Silla troops were defeated. Accordingly, letting go his men, he bore down on the enemy and slew several hundreds of them. So he took prisoners the people of 4 villages, with whom he returned to Japan. AD 367. 55th year. The Yamishi rebelled. Tamichi was sent to attack them. He was worsted by the Yamishi and slain at the harbor of Ishimi. Now one of his followers obtained Tamichi armlet and gave it to his wife, who embraced the armlet and strangled herself. When the men of that time heard of this, they shed tears. After this, the Yamishi again made an incursion and carried off some of the people. Accordingly, they dug up Tamichi tomb, upon which a great serpent started up with glaring eyes and came out of the tomb. It bit the Yamishi, who were everyone affected by the serpent poison, so that many of them died, and only 1 or 2 escaped. Therefore the men of that time said, "Although dead, Tamichi at last had his revenge." How can it be said that the dead have no knowledge? AD 370. 58th year, summer 5th month. By the road which passes to the south of the grove of firs at Arahaka, there suddenly sprang up 2 kanugi trees, which joined over the road so that the ends of their branches met. Winter, 10th month. The land of Wu and the land of Courier together attended the court with tribute. AD 372. 60th year, winter, 10th month. The guardians of the Shiratori Misasagi were told off as laborers on the public works. Now the emperor approached the place of the works. Hereupon Meki, one of the guardians of the Misasagi, became suddenly changed into a white deer and ran away. Upon this the emperor commanded, saying, "This Misasagi has always been empty, and therefore I meant to abolish its guardians and for the first time to employ them as laborers. But now that I see this portent, I am filled with profound awe. Let not the guardians of the Misasagi be disturbed." So he gave them to the Hashi no Muraji. AD 374. 62nd year, summer 5th month. The governor of the province of Totomi presented a memorial, saying, "There is a great tree which has floated down the Ohigaha until it was stopped in a bend of the river. It is 10 girths in size. It has 1 stem which divides into 2 at the extremity. Now Akoko, Atah of Yamato, was sent to make a boat of it. He conveyed it by way of the southern sea and brought it to the harbor of Naniha, where it was enrolled among the number of the imperial vessels. This year, the imperial prince Nukata no Ohanakatsu Hiko hunted in Suk. Now the imperial prince, looking down over the moor from a mountain top, espied something in shape like a hut. So he sent a messenger to look at it. The messenger returned and said, "It is a muro, Accordingly, he sent for Ohiyama, Nushi, the Inaki of Tsuk, and inquired of him, saying, "That thing which is on the moor, what kind of muro is it?" He informed him, saying, "It is an ice muro." The imperial prince said, "How is the ice stored?" "Moreover, for what is it used?" He said, "The ground is excavated to a depth of over 10 feet. The top is then covered with a roof of thatch. A thick layer of reed grass is then spread, upon which the ice is laid. The months of summer have passed, and yet it has not melted. As to its use, when the hot months come, it is placed in water or sake and thus used." The imperial prince straightway brought some of that ice and presented it to the palace. The emperor was delighted with it, and from that time forward, it became the rule always to store up ice from the last month of winter until the second month of spring, when the ice melts. AD 377. 65th year. In the province of Hida, there was a man called Sukuna, who was so formed that on one trunk he had 2 faces. The faces were turned away from each other. The crowns met, and there was no nape of the neck. Each had hands and feet. There were knees, but no popliteal spaces or heels. He was strong and nimble. He carried swords on his right and on his left side, and used bow and arrow with all 4 hands at once. On this account, he was disobedient to the imperial command and took a pleasure in plundering the people. Hereupon the emperor sent Naniha, Nikotake, Furu Kuma, ancestor of the Omi of Wani, who put him to death. AD 379. 67th year, winter, 10th month, 5th day. The emperor made a progress to the plain of Ishitsu in Kahachi, where he fixed upon a site for a Misasagi. 18th day. The building of the Misasagi was commenced. On this day there was a deer which suddenly got up in the moor and ran in among the laborers, where it lay down and died. Now, its sudden death appearing strange, they looked to see where it was hurt, upon which a shrike came out of its ear and flew away. Accordingly, they looked into its ear and found that the skin was all bitten off. So this was the reason why they called that place the plain of Mazu no Mimi. This year, at a fork of the river Kahashima, in the central division of the province of Kibai, there was a great water, snake which harassed the people. Now when travelers were passing that place on their journey, they were surely affected by its poison, so that many died. Hereupon Agata Mori, the ancestor of the Omi of Kasa, a man of fierce temper and of great bodily strength, stood over the pool of the river, fork, and flung into the water 3 whole calabashes, saying, "Thou art continually belching up poison and therewithal plaguing travelers. I will kill thee, thou water snake. If thou canst sink these calabashes, then will I take myself away, but if thou canst not sink them, then will I cut up thy body." Now the water snake changed itself into a deer and tried to draw down the calabashes, but the calabashes would not sink. So with upraised sword, he entered the water and slew the water snake. He further sought out the water snake fellows. Now the tribe of all the water snakes filled a cave in the bottom of the pool. He slew them everyone, and the water of the river became changed to blood. Therefore that water was called the pool of Agata Mori. At this time, pestilential vapors arose more and more, and there were 1 or 2 cases of rebellion. Hereupon the emperor, rising early in the morning and going to bed at night, lightened the taxes, reduced the imposts, and so was generous to the people. He dispensed virtue and practiced kindness, therewithal encouraging the indigent. He showed sympathy for the dead and inquired after the sick, providing for the orphan and the widow. In this way, the decrees of his government were diffused into wide operation, and the empire was at peace, so that for over 20 years nothing untoward happened. AD 399. 87th year, spring, 1st month, 16th day. The emperor died. Winter, 10th month, 7th day. He was buried in the Misasagi on Mazu Moor. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 12. The Emperor Izie, Ho Wake. The Emperor Iza, Ho Wake was the eldest son of the Emperor Ohisazaki. His mother name was Aiha no Haim no Mikoto. She was the daughter of Katsuraki no Satsuhiko. He was made Prince Imperial in spring, the first month of the 31st year of the reign of the Emperor Ohisazaki. He was then 15 years of age. The Emperor Ohisazaki died in spring, the first month of the 87th year of his reign. After the period of mourning, and in the interval before he assumed the exalted dignity, he wished to take Kurohime, the daughter of the Hata no Yashiro no Sukyun, to him as concubine. The wedding presents having been already given, he sent the imperial prince Nakatsu of Sumanoi to give notice of the lucky day. Now Prince Nakatsu, having assumed the elder prince name, by this means seduced Kurohime. On this night the imperial prince Nakatsu came away, having forgotten his wrist, bells in Kurohime house. On the following night, the heir to the throne, not knowing that the imperial prince Nakatsu had himself seduced her, went there. He entered the chamber, drew aside the curtain and sat down upon the jewel couch. Then there was a sound of bells at the head of the couch. The heir, wondering at this, inquired of Kurohime, saying, "What bells are these?" She answered and said, "Are they not the bells which thou didst bring last night? Wherefore dost thou ask thy handmaiden any more about them?" The heir naturally concluded that the imperial prince Nakatsu had assumed his name, and by this means seduced Kurohime, so he retired in silence. Now the imperial prince Nakatsu, fearing that trouble would come of this, was about to kill the heir to the throne, and secretly raising a force, surrounded his palace. Then Heguri no Tsuka no Sukyun, Mononobe no Ohamah no Sukyun, and Achai no Omi, the ancestor of the Aya no Atath, these three men, gave information to the heir, but he would not believe them. One version says, the heir was drunk and would not get up. Therefore the three men assisted the heir, and making him mount on horseback, caused him to escape. One account says, Ohamai no Sukyun took the heir to the throne in his arms and mounted him on a horse. The imperial prince Nakatsu, not knowing that he was absent, set fire to his palace. The fire lasted all night without being extinguished. When the heir arrived at the Hanafu Hill in the province of Kahachi, he became sober, and looking back to Naniha, he saw the blaze of fire. He was greatly alarmed, and fled hastily by way of Ohasaka in the direction of Yamato. When he got as far as Mount Asuka, he met a girl at the entrance of the mountain, of whom he inquired, saying, "Are there any men on this mountain?" She answered and said, "This mountain is full of many armed men. Thou hadst better go round and cross over by the Tajima road." Hereupon the heir thought to himself, "By listening to the words of this girl, I have been enabled to escape calamity." So he made a song, saying, "At Ohasaka, the girl that I met, when I asked her the way, she said not, 'Right on,' she said, 'Tajima way.'" So he turned aside again, and having raised the troops of that district, made them follow him, and crossed over by way of Mount Tatsuta. At this time, several tens of armed men came in pursuit of him. The heir, looking at them from a distance, said, "Who are those men who are coming? And why is their pace so hurried? Can they be an enemy?" Accordingly, they hid themselves on the mountain and waited. When they approached, one man was sent to inquire of them, saying, "What men are ye, and whither go ye?" They answered and said, "We are fishermen of Najima in Ahaji. Hamako, the Mureji of Idzumi, on behalf of the imperial prince Nakatsu, has sent us in pursuit of the heir to the throne." Hereupon he brought out the troops which were in ambush, and surrounding them, captured them every one. At this time Akoko, the Ata of Yamato, who from the first had loved Prince Nakatsu, and was privy to his conspiracy, secretly assembled choice troops to the number of several hundred at Kurusu in Kakibami, and on behalf of Prince Nakatsu withstood the heir. Now the heir, not knowing that he was beset with troops, went out for several rai from the mountain. He was stopped by a large force of armed men and was unable to advance. The heir, however, doubted his intentions and tried to kill him. Whereupon Akoko was afraid, and offering as a present his own younger sister Hinoheim, through her begged that his capital offense might be pardoned. He was pardoned accordingly. It was probably at this time that the custom began of the Ata of Yamato, sending tribute of ladies of the palace. The heir took up his abode in the shrine of Furu, no Iso no Kami. Hereupon the imperial prince Midzuha Wake, discovering the absence of the heir, sought him out and followed him. The heir, however, suspected the intentions of the prince, his younger brother, and would not send for him. Then the imperial prince Midzuha Wake sent a message to the heir, saying, "Thy servant has not a black heart. Only, distressed at the absence of the heir, he has come hither." Hereupon, the heir sent a message to the prince, his younger brother, saying, "I have escaped hither alone in fear of the rebellion of Prince Nakatsu. Why should I not suspect thee? So long as the imperial Prince Nakatsu lives his soul, endeavor will still be to do me a mischief, and I wish sooner or later to get rid of him. Therefore, if thou hast really not a black heart, return again to Naniha, and kill the imperial Prince Nakatsu. After that I will see thee." The imperial Prince Midzuha Wake represented to the heir, saying, "Is not the great man anxiety excessive? At present the imperial Prince Nakatsu unprincipled conduct is detested by the officials and the people alike. His own household, moreover, are against him and think him a brigand. He stands alone, and there is nobody whom he can consult. I knew of his rebellion, but I had not received the commands of the heir, and was therefore merely indignant at it. Now that I have received an order, why should I make any difficulty about killing the imperial Prince Nakatsu? All that I fear is that, when I have killed him, thou mayest still suspect thy servant. I pray that a trusty person may be selected, and I desire that he should make clear my loyalty." Accordingly, the heir joined to him Dizuku no Sukyun, and so dispatched him. Hereupon the imperial Prince Midzuha Wake made lament, saying, "The heir and the imperial Prince Nakatsu are both my elder brothers. Which shall I obey? Which shall I oppose? If, however, I destroy the unprincipled and adhere to the righteous, who can suspect me?" So he went to Naniha and observed the state of things with the imperial Prince Nakatsu. The imperial Prince Nakatsu, thinking that the heir had fled away and disappeared, had made no preparation. Now he had a Hiato named Sashihire. Prince Midzuha Wake sent for Sashihire secretly and tampered with him, saying, "If thou wilt kill the imperial prince for me, then will I surely reward thee liberally." So he took off his coat and trousers of brocade and gave them to him. Sashihire, relying on his words of allurement, all by himself took his spear, and watching the time when the imperial Prince Nakatsu went into the privy, stabbed him to death, and entered the service of Prince Midzuha Wake. Hereupon Disuku no Tsukyun made representation to the imperial Prince Midzuha Wake, saying, "Sashihire has killed his own lord for the sake of another, and although for us he has done a great service, yet towards his own lord his conduct has been heartless in the extreme. Shall he be allowed to live?" So he killed Sashihire. That same day the prince proceeded towards Yamato, and at midnight arrived at Iso no Kami, and made his report. Hereupon the heir summoned to him the prince his younger brother, and was liberal of his favor to him, granting him the Mura Ahase official granaries. On this day Hamako, Muraji of Idzumi, was arrested. AD 400. First year, second month, first day. The Prince Imperial assumed the dignity in the palace of Waka, Sakura at Aihair. Summer, 4th month, 17th day. The emperor summoned before him Hamako, Muraji of Idzumi, and commanded him, saying, Thou didst plot rebellion with the imperial prince Nakatsu in order to overturn the state, and thy offense is deserving of death. I will, however, exercise great bounty, and remitting the penalty of death, sentence thee to be branded. The same day he was branded near the eye. Accordingly, the men of that time spoke of the Idzumi eye. The fishermen of Najima, who had been Hamako followers, were also pardoned their offense, and employed as laborers at the official granaries of Kamishiro in Yamato. Autumn, 7th month, 4th day. Kurohime, daughter of Hata no Sukyun, was appointed imperial concubine. She was the mother of the imperial prince Ashiha of Ikenobe in Ihezaka, of the imperial prince Mima, and of the imperial princess Awomi. One account says, the imperial princess Ihai Toyo. His next concubine, the imperial princess Hatahi, was the mother of the imperial princess Nakashi. This year was the year Kanoini of the cycle. AD 401. Second year, spring, 1st month, 4th day. The imperial prince Midzuha Wake was appointed heir to the throne. Winter, 10th month. The capital was established at Aiher. At this time, Hegyuri no Disuku no Sukyun, Soga no Manchai no Sukyun, Mononobe no Ikafutsu no Ohamuraji, and Subura no Oho, Omi together administered the affairs of the country. 11th month. The Aiher pond was made. AD 402. Third year, winter, 11th month, 6th day. The emperor launched the two-forked boat on the pond of Akishi at Aiher, and went on board with the imperial concubine, each separately, and feasted. The lord steward Areshi set sake before the emperor. At this time, a cherry flower fell into the emperor cup. The emperor wondered at this, and sending for Mononobe no Nagamake no Mureji, commanded him, saying, "This flower has come out of season. Whence does it come? Do thou thyself seek." Hereupon Nagamake no Mureji went himself and sought for the flowers. He found them on Mount Wakakamina and presented them to the emperor. The emperor was delighted to get such a rare thing, and so made them the name of the palace. Therefore, it was called the Palace of Aiher no Wakazakura. This was the origin of the name. In this month, the original title of Nagamake no Mureji was altered to Wakazakura bi no Miyako, and the Lord Steward Areshi was styled Wakazakura bi no Omi. AD 403. Fourth year, autumn, 8th month, 8th day. Local recorders were appointed for the first time in the various provinces, who noted down statements and communicated the writings of the four quarters. Winter, 10th month. The Iso no Kami conduit was excavated. AD 404. Fifth year, spring, 3rd month, 1st day. The three deities who dwell in Tsukushi appeared within the palace and said, "Why are we robbed of our people? We will now disgrace thee." Hereupon the emperor prayed, but his prayer was not answered. Autumn, 9th month, 18th day. The emperor went hunting to the island of Ahaji. On this day, the Kahachi horse keepers were in attendance on the emperor and held the bit. Before this, the horse keepers had been branded on the face, and none of their wounds had yet healed. Now the god Izanagi, who dwells in the island, spoke by the mouth of a half-fury, saying, "I cannot endure the stench of blood." Accordingly, divination was made, and the answer was, "The god dislikes the smell of the branding of the horse, keepers be." Therefore, from that time forward, the branding of the horse, keepers be, was utterly discontinued. 19th day. There was a sound as of a blast of wind which cried aloud in the great void, saying, "O thou prince, inheritor of the sword." Again there was a voice which said, "Thy younger sister of bird, frequented Hata, has gone to be buried at Hasa. No Mikoto has gone to be buried at Hasa." Suddenly a messenger arrived in haste who said, "The imperial concubine is dead." The emperor was greatly shocked, and straightway ordering his carriage, returned. 22nd day. The emperor arrived from Ahiji. Winter, 10th month, 11th day. The imperial concubine was buried. After this, the emperor, vexed with himself that he had not appeased the divine curse, and had so caused the death of the imperial concubine, again sought to ascertain where the fault lay. Someone said, the kimi of the cart keepers went to the land of Tsukashi, where he held a review of all the cart keepers be, and he took along with them the men allotted to the service of the deities. This must surely be the offense. The emperor straightway summoned to him the kimi of the cart keepers and questioned him. The facts having been ascertained, the emperor enumerated his offenses, saying, "Thou, although only kimi of the cart keepers, hast arbitrarily appropriated the subjects of the Son of Heaven. This is one offense. Thou didst wrongfully take them, comprising them in the cart, keepers be after they had been allotted to the service of the gods of heaven and earth. This is a second offense. So he imposed on him the expiation of evil and the expiation of good, and sent him away to Cape Nagasa, there to perform the rites of expiation. After he had done so, the emperor commanded him, saying, Henceforward thou mayest not have charge of the cart keepers be of Tsukashi. So he confiscated them all, and allotted them anew, giving them to the three deities. A.D. 405. 6th year, spring, 1st month, 6th day. The imperial princess, Hatahi of Kusaka, was appointed empress. 9th day. A treasury was instituted, and a treasury be established. 2nd month, 1st day. The emperor sent for Fudoheim no Iratsum and Taketsuru no Iratsum, daughters of Prince Funashi Wake, and having bestowed them in the empress palace, made them both his concubines. Upon this, the two concubines lamented continually, saying, Alas! Whither has the prince, our elder brother, gone? The emperor heard their lamentation, and inquired of them, saying, Why do you lament? They answered and said, Thy handmaiden's elder brother, Prince Washizumi, is strong and nimble. Alone he has taken a running leap over an 8-fathom house, and gone away. Many days have passed that we have not spoken to him face to face. Therefore do we lament. The emperor was pleased to hear of his great strength, and sent for him. But he would not come. Again messenger after messenger was sent to summon him, but still he would not come, and continued to reside in the village of Suminoi. After this, the emperor ceased to demand his presence. He was the first ancestor of the two houses of the Miyako of Sanuki, and the wake of Ashikyuhi in Aha. 3rd month, 15th day. The emperor's precious body became ill at ease, and, the elements of water and earth being inharmonious, he died in the palace of Waka, Zakura, at the age of 70. Winter, 10th month, 4th day. The emperor was buried in the Misasagi, on the plain of Mazu no Mimi. The emperor, Midzuhwke. Hanshō Tenno. The emperor Midzuhwake was a younger brother by the same mother of the emperor Izaho, Wake. He was appointed Prince Imperial in the 2nd year of the emperor Izaho, Wake. The emperor was born in the palace of Ahiji. At his birth, his teeth were like one bone, and his appearance was beautiful. Now there was a well called Midzu, no why from which water was drawn to wash the heir to the throne. A tajihi flower had fallen into this well, and it was accordingly made the name of the heir to the throne. The tajihi flower is what is now the Itadori flower. Therefore he was styled the Emperor Tajihi no Midzuha, Wake. The Emperor Izaho, Wake died in spring, the 3rd month of the 6th year of his reign. A.D. 406. 1st year, spring, 1st month, 2nd day. The heir apparent assumed the imperial dignity. Autumn, 8th month, 6th day. Tsunoheim, daughter of Kagoto, ancestor of the Omi of Ohake, was appointed imperial concubine. She was the mother of the imperial princess Kahaheim, and of the imperial princess Tsubura. Moreover, he took to him the imperial concubine younger sister Otoheim, who bore to him the imperial princess Takara and the imperial prince Takabe. Winter, 10th month. The capital was established at Tajihi in Kahachi. It was called the Palace of Shibagaki. At this time, the rain and wind were seasonable, and the 5 kinds of grain reached maturity. The people enjoyed abundance, and the empire was at peace. This year was the year Hinoi Muma of the cycle. AD 410. 6th year, spring, 1st month, 29th day. The emperor died in the chief sleeping chamber. Bei